Welcome everybody to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Sunday, a very, very important day. It's been a long week, but we are here. Community, I know folks been calling me. Our guest on Thursday canceled, so y'all didn't see us here. Where y'all at? Y'all supposed to be on the air, but we had a last minute guest cancel, so that's why we wasn't here on Thursday. But we've been continuing to push through all week long. Been some amazing, amazing events taking place as we are getting ready to kick off for one of the most phenomenal Juneteenth weekends coming up next Saturday. The parade, the Juneteenth parade, is going to be kicking off. There's an amazing, amazing event taking place at the Ferry Building in San Francisco for our Black food vendors in honor of Juneteenth. And this is special because in San Francisco, for folks who've traveled there and understand the Ferry Building is where a lot of the tourism go. A lot of the businesses are down there, the fresh markets. And, Black businesses don't get an opportunity to sell down in there. So with some of the coalitions, Mega Black, and some of the elected officials and some of the folks fighting to make sure that Black entrepreneurs and Black businesses get some of that tourism money, Juneteenth has been a kickoff where Black businesses get to go down there on that day and make a lot of that revenue. And then they're also working in plans of working in quarterly to make sure that Black vendors get an opportunity to make money in our city. So we are excited about that. Then after that, the following week, we'll be getting ready for the kickoff of the mayor's Juneteenth a celebration at the City Hall. And then we're going to have some amazing Juneteenth festivals all across the city. We have some amazing artists that are coming to town. There's going to be some great stuff coming on. This is going to be the first time since the pandemic. This Juneteenth is going to mean something special to Black San Francisco folks. We got people all across the Bay Area coming to celebrate and uplift the freedom, the liberation, and the celebration of Black people. Okay, so it's going to be great. And we're looking forward to seeing all the Black folks out in the community. It is a beautiful day here in the Bay Area today. The barbecue pits are going. The sun is out. People are moving around. So we appreciate you all who took some time out of your day to tune in with us today to hear this very important conversation on prison reform, because we know there's some issues in our justice system. There's some issues with incarceration. And there's some amazing folks here to come talk about what's not working and things that we need to change as we continue to do our part to advocate and fight for these changes in our community. Got some great folks here today. So we excited. It's a full house. And we ready to kick this off shortly. But lastly, just want to give a huge shout out to a number of folks, because this weekend our organization was honored 2 times this weekend. We reached some achievement awards from the Sun Reporter. We was one of the top talented 25 media folks. So just want to give a shout out to the Sun Reporter and those folks over there who uplifted us. And then last night we were honored. Okay, the Black New World Media Awards. My guy JR Valley, want to give a huge shout out to him and to the Baby Paper for honoring us last night. It was just an amazing time to see the folks that we were in the space with, some real movers and shakers, the real folks who are advancing Black people, fighting for Black folks, some elected officials, some folks who are doing some amazing work to make sure that Black folks are represented in all of these spaces. So again, just want to give a huge shout out to our both sides of the conversation team, to all the amazing leaders in San Francisco and beyond that support us, because there's some leaders outside of the city, outside of the Bay Area that support the work that we do. So we want to give them their lights, and to all of our sponsors, okay, because none of this happened without our team and our sponsors who continue to support us when we ask for the things that we need to impact community. Want to give a huge shout out to them. So first, I'm just going to give publicly, okay, to our mayor, London Breed. We want to thank you for being the mayor you are. Forget the politics and people who got the issues. That is our mayor, and she's a Black woman. I will always uplift our people. Want to give a huge shout out to the Dreamkeeper Initiative. Want to give a huge shout out to Shaman Walton. Want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Director Davis of the Human Rights Commission. Want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Saida. Okay, these folks that we are missing are some real change makers in our community. When we talk about changing the narrative, they are changing the narrative. They are doing the work. And it's just a lot of phenomenal folks that are doing it. So I don't mean to miss everybody, but we always got to let folks know the Dream Keeper is making impact in our community. We got so many other folks that just support the work we do that's continue to impact Black people. Mr. Impact himself, Uncle Stank, Collective Impact, the Baby YMCA, the Homeless Children Network, the West Side Community Center. These amazing folks are the people behind the scenes that make sure we move and we go. And there's a long list of other folks that continue to support the work we do. Even our district attorney want to say a shout out to her, another Black woman who is trying to make change. Okay, and sometimes it's unpopular, but unpopular is what we need sometimes to really invoke change in our community. So I want to say thank you to all those amazing folks and to our team. I got the phenomenal team, man. I mean, just amazing folks. So with that being said, enough of me talking. Want to introduce my co-hosts that here. All of my production team folks are here today showing up. Khalees, welcome. I know you was out celebrating with us. How at the people, Queen?
Yes, it was an honor to be at that award ceremony, I must tell you. John, you have been very phenomenal to the community, as you know. I mean, you always have some good, valuable words to say to the community, and you are a very known person out in the public. We know this, but the award to be part of that and how we screamed and hollered for you, it was well deserved. We even stood up for you, John. So without you putting both sides of the conversation out here, it wouldn't be in existence, right? So thanks for all your hard work, dedication, all these hours, double shifts, all that. These are sacrifices that you could be doing something else. But we do thank you and very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all for being there. Sister Ayo, you was there. What's going on, Ayo? How about the people?
Good afternoon, community. Yes, to piggyback off what she said, you had people shouting your name from all sides of the theater, okay? It was breathtaking. I think I cried like 3 times today. Just remembering being in that space and not even knowing and recognizing so many influential people in power that we were sharing the same space with last night. It was just amazing. What both sides of the conversation, means to the community was shown last night. We might not get all the likes, but we are getting the watches. Your name is being mentioned in rooms where your feet haven't even touched. And that is just such an amazing impact. And I'm very proud and honored to be a part of this community, this organization, and making an impact, where you think that just that little bit goes a long way. And it's such a blessing to be a part of this organization. It's truly.
Thank you for coming out. My brother Ivan, he drove over 20 mountains all night to get there. How you doing,
I'm doing well, brother. Thank you. To add to what the sisters were saying, I absolutely love the idea that we are getting the recognition that we deserve, and that so many others that are a part of the community are also getting that recognition. And I'll tell you, I was ecstatic. I guess the best word I can use to be, like Sister Ayo was saying, in the room with so many greats, and just so happened that there was also a Black Panther legend there as well. So that was a great experience for me. So thank you for having me, and we are grateful that you're being recognized for the work that you're doing. You started this thing, you've kept it going, you've made it better along the way, and hopefully we can keep that momentum.
And I'm not even worried with you great folks, the other folks that you all don't see here today. This machine will keep moving because these people that you see on this screen and these people behind the scenes, they love Black people and they understand that all power is in the people, and they have hearts and compassion and love and humility. And that goes a great way in our community. So with that being said, community, we'll get through because we got to get these phenomenal guests that's up here today. But y'all know the rules. We got to get through our community news, our events and announcements, and then we'll get to today's show. With that being said, Sister Khalees, take off the news. What's going on out here in this crazy Bay Area?
Boy, I tell you, 5 people were hospitalized following a fiery crash. So a Danville police officer attempted to pull over this car at Diablo Road. Now, this is a good neighborhood, y'all, for running a red light. The car fled east on Diablo Road onto Blackhawk Road. If you know where Blackhawk is, you know what type of area I'm talking about. About 5 miles away, it ran a second red light and collided with another motorist. This vehicle that rolled and fled, it rolled on its roof, caught fire. 5 occupants were rescued and taken to the hospital. The driver suffered major injuries. Police investigate 2 separate shootings in San Francisco. A fight broke out near the Grant nightclub in the 400 block of 4th Street in the Soma neighborhood. One person was shot and 3 people were pistol whipped during the incident. A total of 6 victims came forward to the police. So much going on. Police arrest 3 teens in a San Mateo High School incident. Firearms were seized. 3 teenagers were arrested after fights at a San Mateo High School on Friday, one involving a knife. While police were at the scene, a group began attacking one person on the bus loop on campus. So 6 passengers got out of the vehicle, walked away while the car fled off. The officers saw one from the group throw a piece of clothing in a satchel under a parked vehicle. Well, yep, you guessed it, a firearm was in that satchel. I tell you, we send our babies to school. You better pray over your kids. I don't care what age. Just pray over your family, your loved ones, because there's so much chaos going on. And to know that I have a high school senior going to school and for firearms and fights and knives and all this mess to be on campus is totally unacceptable. But you better pray over your babies. An earthquake with 4.5 magnitude struck in Northern California about 13 miles northeast of Hillsburg early Saturday. Yes, Bay Area, y'all. Watch out. These earthquakes is coming back. Police activity is causing delays in some parts of the Tenderloin neighborhood, according to a 511 alert issued to the San Francisco area Sunday afternoon. Yes, this is current. Within the last hour, there's a code out there. So they're asking that you stay away from the area. Community members are asked to avoid it. It's at the O'Farrell and Geary Streets due to the police activity in the area. So emergency crews are on the scene according to the alert. Lots going on. And now we're going to go ahead on to our events.
Before we get into the events, I just want to say this to the community about the earthquake, because I know we've been having a number of tremblers. This is a time to be prepared. We've always educating our community about being prepared, being ready. Families, please sit down with your young people, okay? Because the big one is coming at some point. Make sure that you are preparing your family to be earthquake ready. Make sure you're talking to your young children. If there's an earthquake and you become dispersed, where's your meeting location? Is it the local park? Is it the local police station? If we lose cell phone communication, how are they going to know if they're all right? Start putting those plans together. Make sure you have batteries, a radio, water. Just start thinking about this stuff, community. It's our duty to make sure our community is prepared, because we know from previous earthquakes, okay, some of the wealthiest people in San Francisco was taking care of while folks in the projects and folks in the low-income areas didn't get any support. We got to take care of our own, and we just want to make sure that community is aware. We are having more and more of these 4.5, 5.0 earthquakes. Again, let's be prepared, community. Make sure that we are intentional and make sure that we are educating our young babies, our middle school and high school kids. If something happened, if we do lose our phone connections, how are we going to connect, whether it's through social media or wherever that it is. We need to have a meeting location so that we can get our young people back home and connected with family. So just wanted to put that out there. But I'll go ahead and take over the events and let people know what's going on in the community upcoming.
Yes, we have a lot of events. Do you have a misdemeanor or felony that needs clearing? Email SF Safe City Record Review Program at sfsafe.org. Family Day Golf for a Good Cause, June 8th, check-in 9 a.m., tea at 10 a.m. at Glen Eagles Golf Course, 2100 Sunnydale Avenue. We have APRI info sessions, clean slate jobs, housing support, financial literacy, June 8th through June 15th and June 29th, 1301 Evans Avenue, Learning Center back door. SF shares oversight, elect public community input qualifications for recruitment and an inspector general, June 8th, 6 p.m. through 8 p.m. at Freedom Hall, 330 Ellis Street in San Francisco. Join us for the 25th anniversary Family Day in honor of Dr. Ruth Jackson at Family Fun Food Cars, Trophies, and Prizes, June 11th at 10 a.m. through 6 p.m. at Hearst Playground in Sunnydale. Juneteenth events. Oh, we have so many events. Juneteenth on the waterfront, June 10th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have the Bayview Opera House Flying to Freedom celebrating Juneteenth, aerial dancing, theater, music. And this is June 16th and 17th at 8 p.m. Mayor London Breed Second annual City Hall kickoff celebration, North Light Court, One Drive, Carlton B. Goodflet Palace, at June 16th, on June 16th at 12 p.m. The first San Francisco Black Wall Street Juneteenth Gala, Cut the Check, a black and gold formal affair. The Hibernia, 1 Jones Street, June 16th, 5 p.m. through 10 p.m. Free tickets at eventbrite.com. Mario B. Hair and Fashion Show, vendor space available. Designers, salons, makeup artists, barbershops, clothing lines, and more. June 17th, 11 a.m. through 6 p.m. on Fillmore Street. Live performances, June 17th, Mary Mary at 1 p.m., the Mary Jane Girls at 3 p.m., Hair and Fashion Show at 4 p.m., Sharonda G., Marsha Ambrosia at 5:15 p.m. on Fillmore and Eddy. Father's Day Festival in Bayview, celebration of fathers, family, Black culture, and amusement park rides. June 18th, 11 a.m. through 6 p.m. at Gilman Park. Food and retail space. Info at the link below. Third annual crowning ceremony, King and Queen, I Know Who I Am. Save the date, June 24th, July 5th, July 19th, 3-series workshop on self-transformation and crowning ceremony. City Kids Creator Con, save the date, free creative outlets, art, music, and fashion. July 14th, 11 a.m. through 12:30 p.m. 200 block of Jones Street. More info coming. Bayview National Night Out 2023, August 1st, 5 p.m. through 7 p.m. Bayview Opera House, 4705 3rd Street at Joseph Lee Rec Center, 1598 Oakdale Avenue. Magic Backpack Giveaways, Mo Magic, August 5th, 11 a.m. through 2 p.m. at Ella Hill Hutch, 1050 McAllister Street in San Francisco. Youth First and Invest Black Comedy and Awards Show, August 11th, 7 p.m. Doors open at 6 p.m. Brotherhood Masonic Center, 855 Brotherhood Way in San Francisco. $50 food included at eventbrite.com. Magic Backpack Giveaway. Be Magic, August 12th, 11 a.m. through 2 p.m. at Now Hunters Point, 155 Jennings Street, San Francisco. Ongoing events. San Francisco HRC regular bi-monthly commission meetings, second and fourth Thursdays at 5 p.m. San Francisco City Hall, room 416. The Zoom link and passcodes will be in the link below. African American Reparations Advisory Committee, monthly meetings virtually at 5:30 p.m. every second Monday. Scholarships and jobs. City Build Academy provides comprehensive pre-apprenticeship and construction administration training to San Francisco residents. Learn, build, and earn. Promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact on Hidden Gems. Share your expertise in educational Thursdays or be a panelist on our Sunday conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation. Our latest shows, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our newsletter. Both sides of the conversation is in search of volunteers. Give back to the community. Youth team, marketing, productions, finance, fundraisers, bookkeeper, IT, develop director. Go to all of our social media sites for more information, for more news. Give back to your community and become a volunteer at both sides of the conversation.
Wow, thank you. You know, community, we got our next upcoming live show this Tuesday. Y'all know every Tuesday at 7 p.m. we have our Hidden Gem show where we highlight Black and brown businesses, community leaders, and folks that are doing positive things to impact our community. So looking forward to another Hidden Gem show this Tuesday. It should be lit. We got some phenomenal guests that's going to be coming on. I know I'll be out at another event, but Io and Khalees, they'll be here to hold it down. And then this Thursday, we're going to have Cynthia and Sean come back. Again, we're talking about retirement as we do our part here at both sides of the conversation to make sure that our community is educated with information. We have no excuses. So they're going to be coming on this Thursday for our Educational Thursday. They're going to be talking about retirement for all of our folks in the community that's getting close to retirement, or for our young folks who are working towards retirement. You need to tune in and listen so you can understand and make sure that you are invested and doing the right things. Again, we're trying to build generational wealth, and we're trying to pass it to our young people and to our families. So this Thursday will be a great Educational Thursday. Come check out their PowerPoint, as they're going to be educating community about retirement so that folks know what they need to do to be ready to retire. I am tired of seeing my elders retiring out, working at Walmart because they didn't make the right financial plans while they were working to make sure that they have the funds in their account. So again, community, make sure you tune in and watch it. We'll be on this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and Sean and Cynthia will be back to talk about all of that. All right, y'all, enough of us. We've said enough. Khalees, I want you to read the statistics about prison reform, and then we're going to bring up today's panelists, some phenomenal guests, and get this conversation kicked off.
Oh boy, prison reform. Prison reform is any change made to either improve the lives of people living inside of prisons, the lives of people impacted by crimes, or improve the effectiveness of incarceration by lowering the reoffense rates. The prison reform movement in the United States began in the late 19th century and early 20th century, and prison reforms continue even today. Past reforms have reduced the number of people in prison for a drug offense by 46% between peak year 2007 and 2020. By the end of 2021, the U.S. prison population had declined 25% since reaching its peak in 2009. Still, the 1.2 million people in prison in 2021 were nearly 6 times the prison population 50 years ago, before the prison population began its dramatic growth. The United States remained a world leader in incarceration, locking up its citizens at a far higher rate than any other industrialized nation. At the current pace of decarceration, averaging 2.3% annually since 2009, it would take 75 years until 2098 to return to 1972's prison population. And just to add another note to this, so I don't know if you all know about SB 731. It's a criminal record relief. Okay, this allows almost all old convictions to be permanently sealed once a person has fully completed their sentence and gone 4 additional years with no further contact with the justice system. The law creates the most comprehensive sealing system in the nation. So nearly 8 million people in California, that's 1 in 5 residents have a criminal record. So what they're saying is that they're going to start sealing records for specific charges if you satisfy the conditions. So this may go into effect this July. So for a second chance, for the first time, Californians with a record will no longer be restricted from getting good paying jobs, living in stable housing, or contributing the full measure of our talents to supporting our families and communities. That is deep.
All right. Thank you, Khalees, for bringing that information to the topic today. With that being said, enough of us. We're going to go ahead and start bringing up our guests. This brother's been here before. He has a message. He's very powerful. He's very thoughtful. My brother, Mark, welcome back to both sides of the conversation, Key.
Well, brother, thank you once again for allowing me to be on the platform. Salute to you, your amazing team, for all the work that you do. So greetings from Houston, Texas. Glad to be here.
Man, glad to have you, brother. Thank you again. With that being said, we're going to bring back another good brother that's been here. Y'all know whenever this brother's here, there's fireworks. There's something going on because he is amazing. The General is here. General Parker, welcome back to both sides of the conversation, King. Uh-oh, you got to unmute, General. You still on mute. You got to unmute, brother.
Okay, my bad. I just wanted to say before we go any further, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and this platform and what you do, man, because I definitely love anybody that takes care of my youth and my elders and what you're doing out here in your community. And I've been all over this country, you know, so I really appreciate what you do. So thank you for this opportunity.
Man, thank you for being here, brother. Looking forward to hearing your perspective today because I know you have a great one, and we are excited. With that being said, we're gonna bring up this brother, Michael Love. Welcome to both sides of the conversation, King.
Deeply humble, deeply honored to be here with you all. It's this has been a dream come true. I wish that the people inside could see the brothers and the sisters and the work that you're doing out here, because a lot of brothers and sisters inside have simply given up hope. They've been given a lot of promises. The promises don't come through, whether it be housing, whether it be just the general resources. And when they get out of here, they're just not there. And I know and I've seen people working hard, and hearing about you all is true blessing. Hearing about people up north in California, true blessing. Unfortunately, a lot of times what I see is that we're not in connection, and we're not pulling our resources, and we're not building those connections, which I see are going on here. So I am just thrilled today to be here.
Man, we're glad to hear you. Glad to hear your perspective. We'll be getting started soon as we get the rest of these folks up here. But we're looking forward to hearing from you, brother. Thank you for being here. Brother Clarence. Brother Clarence is back. Brother Clarence, we know last time you was here, you didn't get to speak your speak. Today, you going to speak your speak, brother. Go on and talk to the people. Unmute yourself, brother. You got to unmute yourself, Clarence. You got to press unmute. You got to unmute yourself, brother.
Yes, it's a great honor. It's a great honor to be online with you right now, and you're doing a great thing for the community, and I'm proud of you. You're a young man, and you're doing real good. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing.
Man, thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate you. We got a queen that's gonna be here, Sister Fancy Fran. Welcome to both sides of the conversation, Queen.
Thank you for having me. My niece Colis had invited me to join you all, and it's a great opportunity to see what you are doing in the city of San Francisco. Just know that what you are doing for the youth and the elders, God has a plan for you, and you will be rewarded. Obstacles may come to try to hinder you, but just know that as long as you're doing the right thing, God will continue to open doors and make ways for you and what you are doing.
Wow, thank you very much for that, Queen. And then last we have Patrick. I don't know, he got his camera on, but we'll see if Patrick here. Patrick, welcome to both sides of the conversation, brother. He might have stepped away for a second. All right, we'll get Patrick up here in a minute.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I don't know why I wasn't.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right, there you go. Welcome, brother. Holler at the people, brother. Who you are? What you about, brother?
Just want to say a who dat first, all the way from New Orleans. Just let people know we represent. And no, I'm excited to be here. My day job is I'm director of gun violence prevention for the mayor's office here in New Orleans, but also someone who's formerly incarcerated, did 13 years in prison. Have a lot of experience in workforce development. And so just really just want to add to this conversation. It's timely, it's needed, and it's impactful. And I just want to thank you also, you and your team, for what you do, because it's needed, and it's an urgency, really. It's a state of crisis actually that we're in, and we need these outlets that are promoting the truth information, not just media that has a set narrative.
Man, thank you, brother. Tuning in all the way from the NO. You know, I just got through meeting with D1. Me and D1, he was just out here a couple of weeks ago. Powerful brother. And just love the work that you all are doing down in New Orleans. Again, these are Black people who represent Black people. For all y'all that be trying to say, we just a San Francisco-based organization, okay? Yeah, we in San Francisco, but we touch people all across these United States. We got people all over the United States watching today. And again, thank you, Patrick, for being here. And I know you got some great information that you're going to bring, and hope picking up some of this conversation could take back to the work you're doing. And this is what this is all about, just having all these intersections meet together to uplift the power of the people. So again, great to see you all here. We go jump right into this. We ain't gonna wait no more. We just gonna kick the conversation off, because we know today is about prison reform, what's not working. We know a number of you have tremendous stories going through it. And just I want to kick it off. What's not working? Because some people feel that the prison reform is working, the reentry is not working. And today I just want to shed some light, because we've all been through this experience. and just wanted you all to kick it off and say what's working and what's not working, and give a community a little insight of what's going on and what's some of the challenges. So anybody could jump in and kick it off, and we just go move it around.
I'll tell you the first thing that's not working is a lot of these programs that they have going on. They have people who aren't even systems impacted running them. See, so it's a friend of mine that I know. He started this organization called Just Leadership USA. His name Glenn Martin, and he taught me. He said that those closest to the problem are the ones closest to the solution. Yet they've kept farthest from the resources and opportunities. See, we know better about what we need and what's going to happen for us to be able to be successful, but they would rather give the money and everything else to people who take the resources and do things that are other and contrary to help us to be successful. So that's the main thing that's not working with our program in reentry or prison reform.
I would like to add, I don't think it's not working. I think it's working perfectly how it's designed to work. So to say that the system isn't working, I think that's a miscorrected statement. I think that whoever designed this system knew exactly what they wanted, and outcome is really we're seeing exactly what they wanted. What they want.
No, the question was prison reform, not prison. Yeah, prison is working exactly how they incorporated it, but we talking about prison reform.
Okay? Yeah, correct. And so even with the reform aspect, one of the things that you don't see, well, here in Louisiana, I can't speak for all, we lead the nation in incarceration. Angola has been, one of the bloodiest prisons in the country for a long time. But what you find is that there's never been an analysis or evaluation of corrections in our state. And so when someone goes in, you do classification, you do education, they find out where they're going to put you for work, but there's no evaluation when someone discharges. So you don't know if that person is coming out better or worse than when they went in. And by not providing that analysis or evaluation, you don't know if it's effective or not. Even though they call it Department of Corrections, there's no way to determine if that correction is effective. So keeping that analysis away, it's keeping people more inclined to being incarcerated and returning rather than evaluating, hey, this is what's working, what's not working. And so here in Louisiana, we see one of the highest recidivism rates in the entire country. We're almost at 80% recidivism rate within less than 3 years. And so access to those programs, access to the opportunities, it's only the beginning if you don't do an evaluation on someone's mental capacity and their educational capacity to determine when that person discharges, is that person discharging better or for worse?
I want to jump in there. I got to ask something real quick. Because I hear the general and I hear you, Patrick, but I want to ask the general this because this is something that I really want to know and from all of you experience, because I heard you say, having people that's been impacted part of the process. And I agree with people being impacted part of the process. But I want to ask you, general, because I get people, I'm in these meetings, they haven't been impacted. Do you think they have the capabilities of putting together a proper plan, not being, prison impacted?
No, I don't. A lot of times these people, you could go back to the civil rights movement and the stuff we went through back in the day, and we had all these bleeding heart liberals, and they would get the white folks and get them involved in our situation, and they head in the programs and they get the money, they get the resources, they get the credit and everything. They have us come on as volunteers. They even do it every 2 or 4 years when you get elected now. They bring these people to come through and they want black folks to get out and work for them and get people out to vote and all that. They bring their little college students in and all them, and they working and making the money, but we the one doing all the work, but then we don't get the credit, we don't get the money, and we don't hear no more from them after the election. So it's the same thing in these programs, but I'm glad you brought up Time Done, because I told you I've been all around the country, and Time Done they're here and they're doing their thing here in California, and they spreading out. They're in 5 other states right now too, but right here in California, they're really doing their thing. So
no, and I definitely hear you, General. and I want to say this to Patrick because I know Patrick is on the inside and on a lot of the fast tracking a lot of this stuff. But I agree with you, and I've been at the table saying that we have to be more intentional about how we lay out programming and resources. These city and counties and these states are putting out so much money to consultants and things of that nature to have these folks come in here and tell us how to do the work when you got people in here to do the work, but they don't want to give the resources to the people that's doing the work. And I'm fighting here in San Francisco as well, all across. Okay. I don't need to spend $10-12 million to have somebody come in here and tell me what to do with our people and how to program up. What we need is that $12 million going to the people that's doing the work and to the people that need the service, because you're right. Majority of the resources are sucked up with coach, consultants, and lawyers trying to figure out how to roll the program out, while the people on the street don't get any benefit of the services. So I am really working to switch that model because I have a big problem with it. And I don't care. I'll say it here. I have a problem when we are okay, any city and county, any state, we are okay to pay these consultants $500, $600, $700 an hour to do the work that they do. Okay. But when it comes to Black people, when it comes to community organizations, we don't give them nothing but $25 an hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour. And we skew them the hardest out of all of this. We got to change that model. When I'm talking about being innovative and recreating, and everybody's talking about this reimagine, we need to reimagine where the investment is going. Okay, if you guys have no problem playing white folks, you got to be able to pay the people in the trenches doing the work that same type of investment. So I'm gonna put that out there, and then I just want to pass it around. Go ahead, brothers.
But well, brother, let me just jump in because I think both the general and yourself are hit on something. There's an economic factor that we have to reckon with. First of all, prison reform is kind of like America. The idea of it is great, but the execution of it is something totally different. And the reason why the money seems to go to consultants and to all these other places other than the people who actually need it is because prison reform is a business. America is a business. Like, again, we think of America as a country. It's a nation state. It's a corporation. CCA is one of the biggest financial profit models in this country, and the corporate corrections prison system here, people are making too much money off of prison. So if America as a capitalistic society prioritizes profit over everything else, why would you think when there's so much profit in incarcerating people in America that they would honestly do something to stop that? They're not. So this is an economic war that we're fighting. And again, Black people has always been the foundation of what has built profit for this country from slavery. So when slavery was quote unquote abolished it, they just redressed it with Jim Crow. And then when they tried to quote unquote do it, the general had mentioned this earlier about one of the amendments where, again, if you're convicted of a felony in this country, then you are essentially considered a slave. So you can be handled and worked, you lose rights. And so we're just seeing slavery modernized and people are being used for profit. And unfortunately, most of it falls on us as Black people in this state. So we just have to understand that this isn't about the idea as much as it is about the reality of where the money is going.
Just one more thing, what the general said, I want to honor, and what Mark is saying. There's no other system. So if you were a veteran, you'll see that the leadership is going to be, if it's military based, it's going to have military leadership or someone with veteran experience. When you look at Congress and legislative bills that are being passed and it honors the military, those people that pass it are veterans and they're speaking with that representation of veterans. Recently, there was transgender bills that was passed in the legislation. It was a transgender representative to represent that community. If we're missing from that representation in that executive body, we're not going to get that benefit. And so, to his point, the financial literacy, even in Louisiana, prison enterprise overrules all of the other business that you have in the city. They do the housing, the clothing, the food. Everything is propagated in our prison system through prison enterprise.
Just to give you a quick example, what he's saying, expound on that. In Florida, about 4 or 5 years ago, they fought for the right for ex-cons to be able to vote again, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, I was part of that, helping them out. And his brother's name was Desmond Meade. And I expressed to him and everybody, I said, listen, man, I'm telling you, it ain't enough just to get the right to vote, okay? You also have to fight for the right to be voted for. So if you ain't fighting so that you can become one of them legislators up in there where you can make the rules, it ain't gonna benefit you nothing. So they put it on the ballot. It was proposal number 4. They won. They got the right to vote. I had people from Florida calling me, telling me, General, I'm so damn pissed. I did all this fighting and working and doing all this to get the right to vote. Now I can't vote because they came up with a new law saying as long as I owe fines and fees, we can't vote. But if they had fought for the right to be voted for, they would have had somebody there at the table to say, no, this ain't enough. And no, I'm not letting you do that to my people because you're not making that rule for regular people. If they own fines and fees that don't have convictions, they still get to vote. So, you know, that is called, that ain't a rational basis, you know, when you talk about the constitutionality of a law. And if they had somebody at the table who been through it, we'd have somebody on our side that be able to speak to it. If you ain't got nobody there that's been through it, somebody that's on our side, then we're going to keep running in circles like they've been doing us all along.
So I'm going to jump in here because I have to. I can't hold my peace no longer. I'm a witness, right? So I witnessed my my oldest son going to prison. I witnessed him when he got sentenced and went to prison. And when he came home, I witnessed his behavior when he came home. Out of all my uncles, all of them that I know, been to prison. I visited them all except one. My auntie, been to prison. I visit her. I've witnessed all of them go in. I've witnessed them come out. We're waiting on one more that's been locked up since 1978. And hopefully God's will, he'll be coming home this year. Nonetheless, I've witnessed them going in and coming out. I wrote them, I visited them. Prison has such a bad impact. Let me tell you what my son went through. I watched my son, we're going to keep it together, but I watched my son's whole countenance change. Everything I instilled in him, all the love and peace and joy, everything I put inside of him, it changed. It changed, it broke him. And this is me from my observation as a mother. It hurt me to my core because what he got charged with, it was harsh because you got folks out here ripping up the city, and there's a slap on the hand because if you know the DA or you know the judge or you know somebody on the inside, it's going to be minimal. But you take our Black people and you lock them heavily down because I was looking at the statistics and it's not right because in California, 2017, Black men, 4,236 Black men out of 100,000 people. That's 10% more than white people. Okay. Black women is 5%. You got 171 Black women per 100,000 that's locked up when you only got 30 white women. So there's something that's not lining up right because they get into trouble too. So why is it uneven? But I watched my family members come out. They didn't have no exit interview to find out what type of resources they needed. How could they get back into some legitimate work that'll keep them here out on the streets so they don't go back? They didn't get those resources, not in California. Now, my uncle up in Oregon, yeah, they put him somewhere to stay. They gave him a job, all these resources, but not here in California. And I had to watch my son because you know what? My son been locked up 3 more years now. And we fighting a heavy case again because from the first time when they put that gang mess on him, it affected him this time. So they mess you around with that because if you be in the vicinity of somebody messing up, you getting the same charges that them people getting. If you in their car, if you hanging with them, you getting them same charges. So tell me about reform. Now he's back in your hands because you gave him some rope to hang yourself the first time.
And sis, my heart goes out to you because I remember what it was like for my mother. She cried every day for the first couple of years that I was incarcerated. And like I say, I went in at 19, came out at 26. And yeah, anybody who's been inside tells you it changes you. you to survive inside of that system, you can't function the same way because it's a different world in there. And I think for me personally, one of the biggest victories that I had was after I came out, most people never knew I'd been in. And that was one of the biggest things for me I wanted to work on, because I understood the stigma that I would always have on my life because of that experience. And one of the other reasons, and this is culturally that we have to really start talking about, is the psychological aspect of how our culture celebrates the prison bound activities. Now, there was a meeting reported back in the mid to early 90s where music executives, prison officials got together and came up with almost a marketing scheme through music to control the messaging, the imagery, and everything within our culture that was popular to point us as Black people, and particularly young Black men, towards activities that they had already decided they would criminalize. And this is part of the reform aspect that we also have to address within our community. How many of the mindsets and the activities are we continuing to embrace and celebrate that give the ideology that pushes us towards these activities that they're waiting to catch us up in this system? Because once we get caught up in it, they're not going to let us out. And again, we have to reform ourselves. And again, expecting the system to do it, they're not going to do it. They're making money off of it. This is a process that we ourselves are going to have to own, because ain't nobody coming to save us.
Wow. Mark, you must have been at my event last night. Powerful sister. That's what she said. No one's coming to save Black people. We got to save ourselves. But here's what I want to do. I want to give Clarence the mic next, then Fran, and then Michael Love, because I know they've been waiting patiently. I don't want Clarence to allow me and say, brother, you brought me back and you didn't let me speak. He got a powerful story. And I want him to talk about what he's been through, some of the challenges he's faced, and what he's seen over time. Clarence, turn on your mic, brother, and talk to the people. Let them know what you've been through and the obstacles you had been going through. And then we'll get Miss Fran up there, and then Mike, and then we'll move it around after that. Go ahead, brother.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you brought me back online and everything. I'm glad to be here and everything. Yeah, we got to make changes for everybody. We got to reform ourselves and everything. Me, myself, I walked in prison yard. I walked the Old Folsom prison yard for 9 years. And I went to prison on my own, and I didn't go to prison with nobody. I went to prison by myself and everything, and I got out by myself. I didn't get caught up into the gang activity, nothing like that, and everything. I got caught up into going to the chapel, I got caught up going to the programs and everything, AA, NA, CA, and everything, and I programmed. I stayed out of the mix. I stayed out the way and everything. However, I got caught up into a couple of riots and everything. And but I'm grateful that I didn't get caught up and going to the hole. Okay. And we have to change our own stuff. My best thinking led me to places I don't want to be, had me in situations that I don't want to be in and everything, and doing a lot of things I don't want to do. It's our thinking. It's my thinking, okay? My best thinking had me in places and everything. And we just got to change our thinking and everything. We go to prison and everything. We get caught up with the homeboys and so-called homeboys, and which don't mean us no good. Because when you go down, if you go down with a homeboy, that homeboy, chances are that homeboy going to turn his back on you, okay? And but me, myself, I made changes for myself. I reformed myself and everything. I got certifications, sandblasting certifications and everything. I got all these certifications, forklift driving and everything. When I got out, I couldn't get no job because of my prison background. Me being honest to these agencies and everything. Three different temp agencies told me that they couldn't use me because of my prison background. They asked me, where'd I get my certifications at? I said, behind the walls in prison. And they said, well, I'm sorry, sir, we cannot use it for you behind your prison background. And then my best thinking led me to do what I knew how to do, to pick up a sack and everything. And then I ended up being my best customer and everything. And I'm the one did that to myself. I can't blame nobody, okay? And we got to change ourselves and everything. It's hard to do when we be around them peers and everything, and something jump off and everything. Hey, homie, we got to go on, and we got to come out on the yard, suit up and boot up and everything, because we getting ready to get down and everything. They came to me and did that. Man, I'm not in that. That between two individuals. Let them handle that themselves and everything. I'm not in that. Well, we come and see you after it's over with and everything, but nobody came to see me or nothing. Okay, I had to stand my ground and everything to turn that down and everything, because I wanted to go home. Like I said, I went to prison by myself, and I got out by myself and everything, and they respect me because I hung by myself, and went to the chapel, went to different programs and everything, and in the 9 years of walking them yards, I haven't got not one write-up, haven't got not 115. I got a verbal warning, okay, but I haven't got a serious write-up at all in the 9 whole years because I program. We don't have to go to prison to seek out a homeboy, to seek out a friend, whatever. I wasn't looking for a friend. However, it's good to have a friend in prison, somebody to watch your back and everything. But nobody gonna let nothing happen to you while you're incarcerated. Period. Point blank. And for the prison, the prison system is designed for the minorities. It's designed more so for the black man. Okay, and that's why it's a big business, like you said. It's a business, and they're making a whole lot of money off of us. Okay, and we're making like 35 cents an hour. All right, while we in everything, it's a modern day slavery. Okay, when a person out here on the streets and everything commit a crime, they volunteering are going to be a slave, and I don't want to go back no more. I got out in 2015 and everything after doing them 9 years, and I refuse to go back to prison. I refuse to commit another crime to go back and everything, because I know I don't want to be a slave. I'm not a slave, okay? And I'll be a slave for with my own self and everything by working and everything. But I couldn't get no job because of my prison background, so I got my own thing going. I do landscaping and everything, and just stay out of trouble, keep extra money in my pocket and everything, okay? I don't take nobody's stuff no more, and I keep my hands off of people's stuff. I stay out of people's business and everything. I mind my own, and it's very hard. It's very hard for the young men in prison and everything because of the peers and everything, because they feel like they need somebody to help them if something go down. They need somebody to protect them, to watch their back and everything if something go down. But actually, all you got to do is stay out the way. Just stay out of the way and everything. And it's hard. It's hard. A lot of things are easier said than doing. Okay, and I'm just grateful, man, that I made up my mind. Like my sister said, making up the mind. Making up your mind and everything for change to happen, because change is for everybody. We all get change. I can't blame the system. I can't blame the court system or nothing. I got myself in trouble. I committed that crime, so I had to go do the time and everything. And I did the time. I didn't let the time do me. All right. And I'm just grateful that I learned the prison system. And I know what's behind them walls. And I don't want to return. Folsom have, man, it's ugly in there. It's real ugly in there, but there's a lot of opportunities in there as well. But you got to seek them opportunities. You got to go to the opportunities and everything. You got to grab hold to them and use them opportunities. And just come home. Just come home.
Hey, Clarence, I want to say something. I'm gonna connect with you offline anyway. But you talked about this job thing, and you got a lot of folks coming home. And you talked about the obstacles getting work. I got a lot of folks watching who are looking for ideals to support you. Can you talk to what would you like to see? One of the issues that I'm fighting with our nonprofits and our folks who get funding to do this type of work is making sure that you have a program that's open. All right. Too many times folks come home and they we can't get you in this cohort. It already started. And I keep telling these folks, the moment you tell these folks who come home, they don't have an opportunity, that's another week closer for them re-entering. Right. So I'm trying to work with these nonprofits now to tell them, how can we be intentional? okay, to make sure that we got 24-hour programs. So as folks are walking out the door, different days, different times, that they walk right into something. And we got to get stipends. And this is why I'm saying removing some of this money from these consultants. Okay. A brother come home, they already might be struggling with housing. If they've been down for a long amount of time, they might have lost family and opportunities. How do we make sure that they get into a program the day they enter, that they get some kind of paid stipend day to day until they can get on their feet? Like, how do we create that? So that's my fight. Because I don't want to see this. I get it too many times. My young people, the same thing. They come home. Hey, John, I went over here. They said that I missed this job. I got to wait 18 weeks. I got to wait 16 weeks. We got to figure out how we can continue to have programming happening daily. And we have to figure out how do we find out financially to make sure that these folks are getting funded through the process until they can be on their feet. So that's my fight, but I'll talk to you more throughout the show, but later on, because again, that's my job as in these meetings, in these spaces. And this is why I tell people your voice is very important, because I can't sit here and tell you all the obstacles every day. I know what my obstacles was when I had to go through the process, but that was 30 something years ago. Okay, I got to hear what's going on today. I got to connect with the young people today. I got to connect with my folks that's coming home. So I understand the struggles and I understand the obstacles so that we can break those barriers to really impact and make change. That's our mission here. I'm connected and I want to make sure that you all are connected. And that's why it's important that we get to understand there's a lot of folks who are watching, who has the power, who has the gate keys to make change. We have organization leaders who has the possibilities and the privilege to make a change. So you all voice is very, very important. Thank you, Clarence, for speaking up and talking about that life. And for the young people that are watching, for the parents who might have troubled teens and young people who are thinking about doing the wrong thing, these conversations
Right.
with them and make sure that they understand. It's not a joke. You heard what Clarence said. Don't give yourself up to slavery, young people. Your freedom. Keep your mind free, and a lot of things will happen. With that being said, I want to pass it over to Fran, and then I'm going to get you over there, Michael. I know y'all waiting patiently, and then we'll get it moved back around. But I want to make sure everybody get out there. And I know I got my team that want to say something. Go ahead, Fran.
Hi, I would like to piggyback on what my brother Clarence said. Walmart has a contract with the government to hire ex-felons for X amount of dollars, right above minimum wage. Target had that program, but they snatched it back. However, most young people that I interact with, they feel like, why should I go work for $15 an hour when I can hustle and make $200 an hour? I always speak to them and say, it's your life that you're putting in danger and your freedom. There's no guarantee that hustle is not a guarantee. If you go to Walmart and work, there's a guarantee that you're going to get a check and you're starting a retirement. I myself, I was a hustler in my days. I didn't do that to get a retirement because I worked for myself. However, any young people that I interact with, I always encourage them, go to school, get your education. Books and relationships do not mix. Are you going to get in the books or are you going to get in the relationships? Hanging with your partners on the streets, it's not good. Find you something positive to do. Always do it alone. I was taught as young. My brothers taught me, if you're going to do something, do it by yourself. You're not going to tell on yourself. These people today are doing things together and they're selling each other out. They're destroying each other's lives. My thing is, we should try to find something for these young people to do to put these guns down and stop killing each other. Because that's what goes back into the prison system. They come out angry because they was in prison and their families weren't there for them. So they go in and get with their partners instead of trying to go to get an education to better themselves. I went into the prison 5 years as an ex-felon to be a motivational speaker. And a lot of women that I have encouraged over the years have gotten jobs and went to school, and they've come back and thanked me. So there is hope in reform. But an individual, I still said, you have to make up in your mind that you're done with the streets in order to be prosperous in life.
Now, Ms. Fred, I gotta say something because I want you to speak. Because a lot of times in our community we forget about the female prisoners. And there's a lot of things that happen. We see the articles and the stories with inmates and COs and different things, and we got a lot of young women that get forgot about in the prison system. But the access to services sometimes are better for young ladies. I just want to hear from you. Do you feel like coming home was the resources, the access to resources was there or not? Because sometimes the women in the community, they get better opportunities. So I just want to hear from you. Is it the same or is it not from a woman's perspective going through your experience?
From a woman's perspective, being in prison, first of all, I used to work for the police. I did the police's hair. I had several police male officers wanted me to sell drugs for them. So a lot of women go in prison, they end up pregnant by the COs. They become slaves for the COs. So coming home, you have to make up it's all a mind thing. You have to make up in your mind that you don't want to get caught up in the mix. You want to find something positive to do. There is a lot of education in prisons for females. But you have to make up in your mind, either you're going to choose an education or are you going to choose a yard? And the yard keeps you there. I know women went to prison doing 6 months to a year and pick up 3 strikes in prison behind a CO putting a sack in her hand. But she won't tell on him because her life is threatened or her family is threatened. I know females got pregnant in prison and they had to tell. So me being a woman, being incarcerated, I had to do things alone. I was a loner. I didn't get caught up in the mix because I wanted to come home to my family. And I made up in my mind when I lost my great auntie when I was incarcerated. I said, this is it. I can't do this no more. I had to change my way of thinking to know that I'd rather stand in a soup line and pick up bottles and cans before I went back to hustling. But God blessed me with the ability to cook and do what I do.
Bless you, Miss Friend, sincerely. And Mr. Clarence, I commend you on your accountability. My question is, with hearing everyone who's been in, did the long stints, do you feel that prison is for punishment or reform? Because you get it to where they say you go to prison to get reformed and rehabilitated. So when you're released, you're able to be a functioning part of society, right? But most times the punishments don't fit the crime. And
That's
they
true.
get you in there and they break you down. They break you down. So when you are released back into society, you are a fragment of who you used to be and or what your moral compass is. So with what they say, you go to prison to be rehabilitated. Do you feel that the way that the system is set up, that you have any chance, even if your mindset is, I'm going in here, do my time, get out, that's it? Do you feel that prison in any form or fashion is set up for you to actually be rehabilitated?
I can say yes. And the reason I say yes, there is programs in prison where you can go and get a full education. Those that don't have an education, they can go in and get their GED. They can go in and learn a trade. I know people have went in and women that are welders, women came cosmetologists. You can be reformed. It's up to the individual. Now, some women cannot handle it, and then they break down and they end up on psych meds. And once they give them psych meds, they are not that same individual. And when they come home, they don't know how to cope because they're not their normal self. The families don't even know them because they've pumped them full of medication. That's for the ones who can't handle prison. But there is opportunities to better yourself in a women's institution.
Same question for the men.
No, I just wanted to say real quick, that might be my sister's experience, but what she don't realize is they just renewed the Pell Grants, okay, just recently in prison. So for a long time, you couldn't go get an education. They didn't want you getting an education. They didn't want you getting right, because that's why I wanted to answer Sister Khalees's question earlier. This system is not set up to reform people, okay? You can go to Europe right now and they concentrate on reforming people. Here in America, they just concentrate on punishing people. And they want you getting back out with that same mindset that you went in with and had to go through all the bullshit you got to go through in there, okay? And I know women get pregnant and all that. I've seen men get raped when I was in, okay? I used to hear the screams. I mean, it was just so crazy, the stuff you had to go through, and you got to deal with this life that you hear right now, because your life can be taken at any moment, okay? And we don't have all the luxuries that women have, and they didn't, and not saying they got luxuries, okay? Because we fought for that too, and I was part of that movement with the First Step Back to help women get the things that they needed in prison, okay? But if this country, two things we can do to make sure we have prison reform. And the first thing is, just like over in Europe, where they're closing down prisons now because they don't have people to put in them. They're closing prisons over in Sweden and countries like that, in Germany and stuff like that, because they ain't got enough people to put in them now. So if we concentrate on reforming people and the mindset that got them there, okay, that's one thing. And the second thing is, since this is a business and we're making money off of locking people up, okay, if we quit making it profitable to lock people up, and the first thing we can do, and I was in with the labor unions and all that stuff too, and I'm kind of outspoken, that's why don't nobody like me, but anyway, I don't give a damn. But if we fought for making sure that the people got paid at least a minimum wage, that's what I thought minimum wage meant. You need to get paid a minimum wage, okay? You pay anybody less than that, then you are making them a slave. When I go to prison, if I got child support, my child support don't stop because I got locked up. If I owe some bills, then them bills ain't gonna go away. If I only go away for 2 or 3 years, that they can come after me for 7 years for my bills. So at least if I get paid a minimum wage, I can still make enough money to pay my bills. I can pay my child support. I can send money home to help my family, because that's hurting my family. When I get locked up and I ain't bringing money home to provide for my woman and my children, then that's making them have to suffer and do the time with me. And that ain't right either. But at the same time, don't act like this system is set up to where, oh, we just gonna lock you up because you got something wrong, because there's many people locked up right now and they ain't did a damn thing. There's a whole bunch of people came off of death row in Illinois, okay, that they found out later on they were innocent all along. So don't just act like these police and these correction officers and everybody else ain't set up to try to make you think that you wrong just because you black and I said you did something wrong, okay? So people gonna write you off because I said that, and that's exactly what happens.
Well, just one quick thing, John, that you
brought
up real quick. If you go to a school in San Francisco or a school in New Orleans, there's going to be a grading system that'll let you know if that's a good school or not school, if that school has been productive or unproductive. If there's no evaluation system of the prison system, how do we know again if the correction is effective or not? The general's point, the system that's designed in some of those European countries, they evaluate whether or not the people that they put in are coming back out are doing better, and they follow them. We don't have that system here. It's totally an anomaly. Like the lady who spoke earlier about her son. Had he had an evaluation on who he was releasing out, she could have better prepared and say, hey, my son is coming home with this type of deficiency. He's coming home with this mental capacity. He's coming home at this educational level. That way she can know how to embrace him and get the right, correct help for him. If we don't evaluate the system, we'll never know if it's effective or not. And the only other part that was brought up was when Mr. Clarence was talking about the employment. Many people don't know that it's only to the benefit of the business. Someone with a conviction is the only person that can be insured in the business. Meaning that if like a federal bonding, you apply for a federal bonding, you automatically get it. If you hire convicted felons, and with that bonding, it gives that business an insurance to say that if something goes wrong, it is to their benefit. They can recoup those funds back from the federal government. The only bipartisan bill that was passed in the last administration was the First Step Act, which also gives federal benefits to people, to businesses that are hiring people with convictions. It is the only law on the books that exists for any person in this country, that if you have the conviction, you can get a federal bonding, get insurance. The same way if you get an accident with your car, you go to your insurance and you get your money back for it. Federal bonding allows that for people with convictions. One of the programs I run in the city is called CEO, which is Center for Employment Opportunity. I hire at least 180 to 200 people with convictions every year. And with that bonding program, we'll give access to employment opportunity, because the businesses understand it is to their benefit if they hire people with convictions. And so that's the one thing that people should know. Like, the more we can understand some of these laws and opportunities, we can explain to the business, it makes good business sense to hire somebody with a conviction.
Man, very powerful stuff. I want to get Mike in there. He's been waiting patiently, and then I want to get some of the folks from the team in. But Mike, go ahead, take your time, brother. And I know you got a lot of different things to offer, but you've been hearing what's going on. I know you've been waiting patiently, brother. But go ahead, man, and go ahead and do your thing, brother.
Okay, I've heard a lot of beautiful perspectives, a lot of valid perspectives. I think one of the problems when we have these discussions is we are either validating one perspective or we're invalidating another perspective. And I believe that it's true that all the perspectives can have some validity to them, which I believe on this discussion. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Sister Hollins for visiting her family while they were in prison. I want to say that that is probably one of the most consequential things that you could do to the outcome of that individual or that family member, that person, that soul, that human being. Because personally, I went to prison at age 19. I came out at age 55. So I was in prison for 35 years and 5 months. So I seen a lot. It ran the gauntlet. I seen the various perspectives. I was where you were, Clarence. I started out in Old Folsom Prison here in California, and that is actually where I paroled from, Old Folsom Prison here in California. Unfortunately, I was not a model prisoner, so I got in a lot of trouble. When I started out, I didn't have anyone visiting me. I was angry. I was angry at everyone. But what I did come to realize is that I was the one that put myself in prison. And that started giving me a little bit perspective to where I could start figuring out why I made the choices that I did. And at that point in time in my state, there really weren't programs as they have now. I can say that at least here in California, they are making a conscious effort to change the culture. But we have to remember that there's the culture of the population that's doing the time, and there's the population that the guards. So we could bring a program into an institution, and it could be a viable program, a beneficial program. However, some of the guards may not be on board, and that's a problem. Okay, so case in point, I was actually a recipient of the Pell Grant. So I had obtained a number of AA degrees when I decided I wanted to get my act together, but that was it. I couldn't go any further. So when the Pell Grant came along, I was on a committee that was petitioning universities here in California, and we were able to successfully get California State University, Sacramento, to come into the prison and teach BA level courses. I can't report to you that unfortunately I paroled before I could finish my BA with my cohorts. However, I finished out here. And so I got my BA on May 19th of this year. Okay. And I also got accepted to graduate school. All right. Now, this was not my doing. I was only a small part of this. This was the doing of some people with insight, some people with fortitude, because we know we're going to get a lot of no's, and some people who believed in the power of education, as I do, the power of humanity and the power of redemption. One of the things about prison is when you go into prison, and this is pretty much in all 50 states, your name is stripped from you. You're considered an inmate. So whatever your name is, you're inmate that. And that has a weight on your shoulder. That is a stigma that's fairly ugly. And it transfers right out here into the community. We find that out when we put in an application and it's denied because of our prison record. Matter of fact, I put in an application, went to the interview, and was hired twice, and called the next day and said, unfortunately, we can't have you because you didn't pass your background check, which was very interesting because when I went to the interview, I specifically told him, right? Project Rebound is an organization on Sacramento State campus. Project Rebound was actually started by a formerly incarcerated individual in San Francisco in 1967, consequently the year I was born. So Project Rebound was brought to Sacramento State by Dr. Mary McGuire. And Project Rebound helps formerly incarcerated individuals transition and on the UC campus. And that may mean with meals, that may mean with housing, which they now have housing, limited beds, but it's a start. That may mean food, because many of us are food impacted. That may mean whatever kind of service, maybe veteran services, any type of service that we know we need. And it's interesting because earlier we were talking about, I heard system impact in terms of these programs. Well, Project Rebound, everyone that works in Project Rebound is formerly incarcerated, including the director. And it is very, very successful. And I think it is successful because of that reason. Now, I don't want to exclude people that have good ideas that aren't system impacted. And one of the reasons why I don't is because as I've gone to a number of groups, which is what I did inside in the last, I say about 10, 15 years, and what I still do outside as a member of ARC and as a member of, I forgot to tell you, I actually work at Project Rebound now as well. But one of the things that I realized is that I don't want to turn down any good ideas. And there are some people with good ideas that have never touched a day in prison, county jail, never been in trouble, never thought about being in trouble, but they still have good ideas. So why would we want to turn those ideas down? Now, when it comes to the funding, I agree wholeheartedly that there's a bureaucracy with the funding. There's organizations that have this funding. They're paying people to do this work. But guess what? There are people in prison that are extremely, I don't know if I said that enough, talented, sharp, brilliant minds. And if you trace back a lot of the programs that they have now, they were written by someone who was incarcerated. They weren't written by the people that they paid all that money. The people that they paid all that money just took that program and now they're reaping the benefit from the program, while the funding and the resources actually never went. A large percentage never even went to where it was supposed to go to. So one of the problems that I see is that, yes, CDCR here has instituted some programs. Beautiful. I've taken advantage of the programs. I'm not sure, though, if a lot of the programs are meant to socialize a person back into society or meant to socialize a person just to being a good inmate or being civilized, per se, inside the walls of the prison. Because as we all know, it can get hectic in there. But nonetheless, there are some good things going on there. For me, the most beneficial program was the education program for me. Because I know that for myself, using an I statement, I had extremely low self-esteem. All right. And as I sit in these groups, I see and I feel the same thing. It may come in a different form, but many of these brothers had low self-esteem, so they have a chip on their shoulder and they got to be bigger and badder than the next person when, quite frankly, they're marshmallow inside, but we never know it, right? And so I think that we got to restore the humanity in these brothers and sisters and really love on them, as Sister Hollins was doing. See, because no amount of money can replace that, right? And then we can make that decision. And it has to be an individual decision. I agree with that. You can pour all the money and all the resources into an individual, and unless they've made that decision, it's a waste. However, once they made that decision, we got to surround them with all the love possible. And if they're still on the fence, we got to be able to tell them, look here, brother, look here, sister, when you're ready, we got you. The door is always open. Because the bottom line is humanity. The bottom line is a culture that's being wiped off the face of the map, right? Either they're dying in the street, they're dying in prison, or if they're not dying in prison, they're just locked up forever. You know, because quite frankly, I never thought I was getting out, period. And so there was a time when I wasn't even sure if I was worthy of getting out. So now I think, well, what a waste of some human lives. What a waste of some human beings. As I see other people that have done extensive amount of time just thriving. I'm not talking about getting out of prison. I'm talking about back with their families, back with their kids, where they should, viable role models, working, creating businesses, right? Like Clarence just decided, you know what? I'm gonna make my own business. And these are the choices. And what people fail to realize is it's choices, decisions, not conditions that determine our future. So we have to have the fortitude, the wisdom, and the knowledge to make the correct decisions. And that comes with people like all of you. Because when I see all of you, I know that there's hope. Now I can raise my head up high. I know people are fighting. Unfortunately, some of the brothers and sisters inside don't realize that people are fighting. And so they're real cynical. And they've been let down because they're told this and they're told that. You know, I actually had a conversation with another gentleman of another organization because they were talking about housing and that they have this housing. And so that's what they're advertising. They have this transitional housing as people get out. But the bottom line is, and I've seen this, they don't. They have some transitional housing, but they don't have all the transitional housing that they're saying. So now we're building up these brothers and sisters' hopes. And when they come out, they're going to keep hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, as I did. But it just so happened that I had a strong network, strong people around me. I have people calling me that almost daily. How you doing, Michael? You all right? How your school? I had a professor come, and the campus was closed down. He came and opened up the halls to register me into my classes for the next semester the day I got out of prison. So I went from Folsom Prison to Sac State campus that day. All right. And that's what these brothers and sisters need, whatever they're going into. If they're going into a vocation or welding, they need to go from wherever prison to that welding shop that they're going to be welding in that day. Get them acclimated and get them started that day. I had a friend of mine say, hey, you're moving too fast. You're doing too much. So what I'm wondering is, well, who is going to get my birth certificate for me? Who is going to get my Social Security for me? When I went to the DMV, they thought I was dead. So I went, right? Who's going to get my driver's license? right? So I got to do these things, right? My parole officer said, wow, I haven't seen anybody do this fast. I said, well, I had 35 years to plan, sir. And I think that brings me to another point. One of my final points is this. It's not that a person goes to prison. It's what we do in prison. It is critical what we do in prison that's going to socialize us to the community outside of prison. A few of you brought up the European model. Well, from day one, I studied this. From day one, that model is socialized to bring a person back in the community. And their recidivism rate is so low, you wouldn't believe. We spend so much money and the recidivism rate is so high because our system is just not simply designed at this point to socialize people back in the community, right? And so a decision has to be made because we can't straddle the fence. A decision has to be made. Are we going to socialize these brothers and sisters back in the community, which can be done and can be done successfully? We already have a model for that, right? Or are we just going to lock people up and give them a couple little programs, a little AA, a little this, and that's that, right? Because the best socialization going on now is from people like Sister Hollins that's going in there and seeing their family and telling them, hey, I believe in you. I'm still here for you, right? And that's giving that person hope because a lot of these brothers and sisters are quite frankly hopeless. And if they weren't, they wouldn't make the choices that they make. It wouldn't happen. But when we restore that humanity, when people see, wait a minute, there's people here that care. Even though I made mistakes, they still care. They still love me. They're still willing to sacrifice. They're still willing to be there for me. They're still willing to set that phone call, write that letter, stand in those crazy visiting lines. I actually had the opportunity to go back into Folsom to be the keynote speaker at their graduation. And I thought that when I heard the door close, I thought that I would feel the sense of anxiety. It was interesting because I didn't feel any of that when I went in. But I tell you what, I felt that when I went out. And I actually had an interview by the Associated Press, and they asked me a question on how I felt. And that's what I realized. I realized in that moment that what I felt when I went out was real powerful because they were talking about my accolades, which are not my accolades of my own. This is a whole community of people that have surrounded me with support and love when I made the decision that I wanted to do right. And I'm thankful for that, extremely thankful for. But what I realized is that my first cohort that I started with, which is there's about 9 left, 2 of us are out. They are Michael Loves too. And they can do just as great or even greater than me out here. And so when I left, that was the hardest part of leaving, is leaving them behind. I wanted so bad to bring them with me. And there are so many beautiful individuals inside. You know, once we break down those barriers and break down those walls and really have a conversation, you'd be surprised. They have much to offer their families, the community, and it'd be just fine. So when we do have these programs, yes, I like to take the bureaucracy out. I like to get more people that are just as impacted involved in this process while they're inside, so that they transition with that outside. And I just commend this program. I wish I had knew about this inside, but I'm glad that I know about it now. And I'll definitely be watching every week.
Man, thank you, brother. I mean, that was powerful, man. Congratulations on your degree and being able to get out and complete. I think that's so powerful for you to be able to do that. One of the things I might have misheard you because my internet was going in and out, but I heard you say something about a waste of time. And I don't know what it was, but I want to say, I do a lot of this reentry work with our young people that's locked up. And I just feel like there's no waste of time, right? Some people light switch turn on sooner than others. It's our job to be consistent and continue to pour love into these individuals until the light switch kick on. So I just hope everybody out there understand that the work continues. I was one of those people. You know, I hear you about the program, and thanks for Khalees being the way she was with her family. When I was doing my time, I didn't want nobody to come visit me because I felt like an embarrassment to my family. I felt like an embarrassment to my community. I didn't want my mama to have to come up here and take off her clothes in front of these people to come see me. So I did my time alone. I didn't want nobody to come be a part of that. You get what I'm saying? Because I made that choice. And again, but it's great that some people, they allow it. But again, when we talk about prison reform and interact in our communities, how do we make that process a little bit less trendy? Because we know on this show, we've had COs come on here. 90% of the drugs, the cell phones, and all the stuff that comes through the prisons is not through the inmate's family. It's most times the actual officers. So again, how safe is it? But when our people come to see us, they got to strip. They got to go through all this. We got all this technology, all the cameras, all the systems in place. But we got to go through all this for our people. So again, it was an unhumane situation for me. And I think that's why I never could go back, because I could never put my family through that. I didn't want to put myself. I don't want a grown man telling me to bend over and cough. I didn't want to have to deal with those experiences. And that's why I tell my young people, it only gets worse. Get out of this system before you get connected, because it's the beginning. My guy Corey always says it's the beginning of a disappearing act. And nowadays, it's so easy to get railroaded in this system that you'll be impacted forever. So again, that's just powerful, brother, and just wanted to thank you for highlighting that. But it is a different system. And again, when you talk about breaking down people, it don't just break down the inmates; it breaks down the family, the communities. And you're right. I never agree with folks being called their inmate numbers. I'm like, come on, they people, man. This is not a robot. You get what I'm saying? Like, so some of that humility has to come back. There's a lot of change that need to happen. I believe that those models across the country and other countries do work. But then it's how do we institute it here in this capitalist society? Because you mentioned it earlier. Somebody mentioned it earlier. With capitalism, prison systems won't change because that's the investment for money. So as America right now is transitioning the dollar from oil, trying to find other ways to label the dollar, how do we do it when it comes to business investments? And these conversations are only going to get more intense over the next 5-10 years as more AI technology is introduced to our community, to the people, as more robotics and automation takes over. You think that we're having problems now? It's only going to get worse. So we got to be intentional now as we start preparing to what the future really looks like. How do we advance our people behind the walls, and how do we get them ready as they exit the wall? The work is very humbling, and definitely, Mike, I appreciate you being a part of Project Rebound, because I know when I walk out every week, I'm up here with these young people. It's always a humbling experience. People say, why do you do this? Because every day I talk to these young people, I'm talking to myself. And when I walk out these jail systems, it's a reminder for me. You could be there, one bad decision away. We all one bad decision away. And that's why I tell the community, stay humble, stay connected, be an advocate and support people, because you never know. The tables can turn real fast. So just wanted to put that out there. But I wanted to go ahead and open it up to everybody again. I just wanted to make sure that you folks got a time to speak. But I want to open it up and talk about some of the successful models. And I know General got some great ideas. What can we look forward as a community? Things that we can latch onto. We know we got the model from the other countries, but what can we do here in America to, make it more successful and utilize some of the things and strategies that we've learned? And Michael, you got a great perspective being in, coming out. How do we do that? I know people are going to say, well, John, you're not talking about the educational system. So y'all know I push back on our racist, systemic educational curriculum here in California and across this country. But again, it's no shot. We want to uplift Mike. I get the educational system is an advancement for folks. But I'm always against the racist curriculum that is taught to our young people. But I don't want people coming from me to be like, Bishop, well, you don't like the system. How could you uplift it? I just want to put that out there. But again, I am very passionate about dismantling the educational curriculum that is harming our community and our young people. We got to find innovative ways to bring education to our community. But again, salute to you, brother. I don't want to take that from you. That's just the bishop's perspective on something. But I have to put that out to the people, because I think the racist curriculum The prisoner pipeline teaching in our schools is the reason why we have more prisons in California than we have college campuses. So just wanted to put that out there, but I want to open it up. We could talk about that and, the forgiveness of the justice system. Is we ever going to get to a part where there's forgiveness? We can't even get in this country across the reparations. So, we could put this to the justice system. Are we ever going to get true justice? I don't know. I don't think we're going to get it, though. But I'll turn it over to you all, Mark. I know you've been waiting patiently. But, yeah, y'all jump in there and let's talk about what we can do to make this system right.
Wow. That's such an open-ended question. And I'll go back to one of the points that we were talking about early as far as the re-entry process for the average person coming out. A lot of people, especially once you've done an extended amount of time, the advancements in technology, the way culture is shifting, the way things are moving, one of the things I think would be probably a good stepping stone to start help people. And this is where technology can come into play. As somebody who's in sales, and I've dealt with multiple companies and how they have automated their process of training people to get acclimated to new technologies and processes and procedures. I think if we could put together an automated process for some people coming out to get familiarized with technology, social media, banking apps, and things of this nature, because again, one of the big complaints is we don't always have the manpower or the willpower to do these things. Well, you can create an automated system that you could literally put somebody in front of a screen and have them get re-educated to acclimate themselves coming back into society, because it's moving so fast. Because like I said, when I went in, it went in 96, came out in 2003, and things had changed drastically in those 7 years. And fortunately, like I said, I had a few people around me that this is how you do an email. This is how you set this up. And having that process automated through technology and AI, I think now gives us an opportunity to really at mass give tools to people coming out to get prepared, to get acclimated back into society. So that's one idea off the top of my head that I think would help.
So I would say, my biggest push is economic development post-incarceration. We do best practice models. If we look at something that's working and not working, the military gives you a good example. They have what's called the Office of Transition Economic Development, and which makes it mandatory before you're released from any branch of military service, you have to take this course on transition and economic development. Well, what you find in prison institutions is that it's mandatory that you take a pre-release class, but no one has an economic development course specifically designed for people with convictions. So that's what my book was. I wrote the first book, A Way Up, Economic Development Post-Incarceration, with a workbook specifically to design for those collateral consequences that people deal with convictions, especially in finance and banking. Someone that doesn't have a conviction, if they want to buy a house, get a loan, get access to capital, right? It's a clear path based upon your credit score and your work history. Someone with conviction automatically has a scarlet letter going into that system. And unless you're aware of some of those collateral consequences, you're going to be denied. And so when you talk about financial literacy, financial access, it has to be different for somebody with a conviction. Just like financial literacy for somebody that's a veteran is totally different. And so when we think about what's next, and Mark said it earlier, the general said it earlier, if it's a system based on economics going in, then it has to be a system based on economic for someone coming out. If you have the access to capital, access to resources, if you get a job and you don't know what to do with those funds, then how important is you getting access to employment opportunities? If you get access to a resource or a program that gives you a stipend, how important is that program if, again, you don't have the financial literacy to know what to do with that money that you're receiving? And so for me, my biggest push is always, again, learning the financial literacy of economic development, not just to get out of prison, but to find a way up, not just a way out.
Mm-hmm.
I
agree with that.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Both of you, I agree with both of those. But one caveat is that a lot of these programs and resources are outside of prison, which is beautiful. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to get them inside of prison, so that people are taking these programs, working through these programs before they come out of prison. Then once they get out of prison, then I would like to be pairing them up with a mentor, or maybe even two, that are actually step by step going through this curriculum with them as they're doing these things. And as they do them and they get acclimated to them and they get on their feet, well, then they're going to go back and they're going to work with someone else that's getting out of prison. And so it's that we used to have an adage. I don't hear it much anymore, but it was each one teach one. All right. And so I'd like to see that. And we can do that. I mean, oftentimes we are looking for someone else to do what we can do. We can do it for ourselves. I think at any given time when we are looking for this, I don't want to be cynical, but the system's really not designed for people to be successful. Otherwise, it would go broke. It's just not designed for that. And that's the reality. People may not want to hear that, but it is a business. And not only is it a business, but it is a big business. All right. From everything about it, it makes money. So you heard the adage, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So yes, they've instituted some programs, they passed some laws, and it looks good on paper. One of the gentlemen was talking about the statistics and would like to see the statistics. Well, quite frankly, they do teach statistics, but they don't want us to see the statistics. But they know the stats. They know the stats. They know what's successful. They know what's not successful, right? And they only want so many to be successful because it's a business. And that union, and for these states with unions, just follow the money. That's all I can say. Follow the money.
Yeah, Mike. And
follow the money, you'll see where it goes.
What you were saying, Mike, is that's what I want. I want my book and my curriculum to be mandatory for all institutions. When you before you release, you have to take this financial literacy course in the same way that in the military you have to take their course. So right. If there's any support that we can work together with your organization and people on the call, I'll gladly send you books and workbooks to see how we can implement this financial literacy model. Because I also want you to look at the financial component. The government gives $10 billion for their program for 7 million veterans. There are 77 million people with convictions in this country. So it's almost 10 times that amount of funding that's needed to appropriate the literacy. But if you change a person's economic knowledge, you change their status so they could be like Mr. Dixon, come on, get their business, get access to capital and credit, buy their home. They become a power player immediately after incarceration.
Absolutely. And actually that's one of the tenets when I was talking about education, because when I talk about education, what I'm talking about is critically thinking and going below what's in a book or what someone's telling us, but critically thinking about these finances, thinking about what we're going to need, thinking about our birth certificates, thinking about all the things that we're going to need to get out and be successful. Instead of the things that actually make no sense at all. And unfortunately, when we're in prison, we're in a world that is within a world. And as I look back on some of the things that I even thought I cared about, I think to myself, man, what were you thinking? What in the world was I thinking? Right? So just actually getting back in touch who we really naturally are, the beautiful people that we are. And I think that will go a long, long way. However, Mr. Young, please reach out to me. I would love to get your books in there. And we have some connections. And when people call me now, one of the first things I tell them, do you have your birth certificate? Get your birth certificate, because that's something you can do while you're inside right now. And that's one of the things that's paramount to me is what you're doing while you're there. All right. We got these resources out here. We get them, but I want every second of that time that we're inside to be utilized in a positive way.
So, Patrick, I just want to say a couple things because I want you to come back to our Hidden Gem show one of these Tuesdays. I know you did an educational Thursday, but both sides of the conversation, we'll buy some books, okay? Because I believe in making sure my folks inside of the prison get these resources. So I'm gonna buy a bunch of these books. Okay, so I'm gonna set something up, but I want you to come back for our hidden gem segment. The other thing is this. When you talk about like the military having a way to come back, I get the financial piece, but we also need a way for people that's been locked up to also have some kind of training to come back into the community. We know in prison it's very segregated, right? A lot of these folks come home and they don't understand how to navigate in the community. They've been gone, so they come. I've dealt with these folks, so I understand the mindset. Okay, you bring these people in these businesses, and these people don't understand. I have to check people because I understand. I could say, hey, this brother just came home. Hold on. You know what I'm saying? Because the mindset is different. So how do we create that as well? Because they need a deprogramming of prison to get back into society.
That's right.
And that's a hard transition sometimes because they used to being by themselves. They got anxieties and depressions and different things that impact them differently than a normal person day to day. So their triggers and your triggers might be two different triggers. But how do we make that a harmonious process? How do we make that transition? Because a lot of them, they can't function in the community because they so used to programming up. You get what I'm saying?
So you can't graduate high school without evaluation, right? You have to take some type of test to get a high school diploma to determine whether or not you have the educational capacity to be considered someone of a certain level and move to higher learning. We have to, even if it's an organization locally in San Francisco or nationally, whatever, we have to have a welcoming space where we can evaluate our people ourselves, not just what they say. Oh, we're letting him out Thursday and he's been out, or whatever. Look at Khalif Browder, his situation. Someone was jailed for something that was wrong, but then again, by not evaluating his mental state, he committed suicide, right? And so where is the embrace from us, even if we have to collate it collectively, is to say, hey, let's just talk about, just an analysis, an evaluation of how you're coming out so that we can operate and point people in a better direction. Which program will be best for you?
Man, I think that's very powerful. And I think it goes back to what somebody said earlier. And this is why I tell these community folks, see, I believe in second chances. And I tell people, when our people come back to the community, we have to embrace them with love. We got to pay attention to them. We got to give them all of the things that they need to get back on that great track. So again, family love, community love, and this is why I get on these organizations. Make sure you have your resources available. Don't be promising these people nothing because that performative stuff, it happens too much. Oh, when you get out, just call us. We'll get you a job. And I tell these people, stop telling these people that type of stuff. When they get out, be a vessel, be ready to bring your resources to them. But General, I saw you trying to get in there. Go ahead, General. I'm sorry to cut you off, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're right. I just want to say real quick that there are organizations out here doing some of the stuff that y'all asking about. I've been involved with a lot of them. Matter of fact, right there in San Francisco, at Alcatraz Island, you got an exhibit there called the Big Lockup. I was one of the ones they called out to be a consultant on that. So I was working with All of Us or None at the time. So, but there's a exhibit there that gives the whole history of the prison system here in America and mass incarceration, how it got started, everything else and what we can do. So people that don't know about it, that always have these ideas about people that's been locked up, who have never been locked up, they get a better idea because there is a stigma that comes behind being locked up, whether it's people that you're talking to or even yourself or people in your family. See, so we need to get over that. And what y'all was talking about earlier about the jobs and hiring people, with convictions, where there's something that's called a targeted job tax credit that those organizations get for hiring people who've been incarcerated. But a lot of times they hire them, they get the tax credit, then they let them go. See, so we got to work on fixing that too. And there's also Ban the Box, which started here in California, where they can't ask you about your convictions, on a housing, education, or employment application in the beginning, but they can ask you in the interview. But that can't be the first thing they use to try to get rid of you, saying that we're not going to hire you. They're also closing prisons here in California. They're closing 5 prisons. And Time Done has got a project going on, and they're writing letters to close 5 more because there's been a study done saying that they can close 5 more prisons, and that'll be $1 billion in savings. And we just want to make sure they redirect those funds back into the community to help the people and give us the resources and make our community safe again. And you do that by giving us the resources we need with education, being safe, giving us jobs, economic opportunity, and everything else. There's an organization I work with that I volunteer though as an administrator, called the National Redemption Project. And what we do, we go inside and we try to work with people before they come out. And it's with the outreach ministries. And what we do is they work with the Salvation Army. So then they got with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they help people to come out, get reacclimated, get a place to stay, and help them to find work and get reestablished again back into the community. So it's mainly over in the South, but we got other different organizations that have been working with around the country, and we try to get this nationwide. So I think I put the link into the chat so people can click into that if they need somebody. Also, what my brother Michael Love was talking about, there's another organization called P2P, Prisoners to Professionals. And my brother, Dr. Stan Andrews, he and I were Just Leadership cohorts back in 2018. He's a doctor now, and he started this organization, and he wants to go back to help people get higher education. So they even provide the money for you, the funding for you, but we also do that with people on the inside. They show up for class every Saturday, but they got to get permissions and stuff. So it depends on what state you're in, or even sometimes they break it down to what's correctional facility. But people can get involved in that, and then when they get out, they're already starting their college education. I did a presentation for the Rise Up conference last year. It's called Can I Clip? So I came up with a program to help people on the inside and outside to take the CLEP exam, and not only take it, but to get it paid for and get it done free. So a woman was in my presentation. She worked for the Vera Institute of Justice, and she took that program, and now she's getting it around the country now. She started in Maine and got every prison facility in the state of Maine to make them a CLEP testing center, and got the Modern States organization to pay for it, where they can go ahead and not only study, but even take the test and get college credit for free. So when they come out, they've already working toward their associate's or their bachelor's degree. And that spread from Maine to Ohio, Wisconsin. We're trying to get it in Alabama. And she told me that one of the administrators in DOC in Arizona heard about it, and he took it back, and he's starting it in Arizona right now. So.
Hey, General, make sure you put that information about the exhibit in there. Now, here it is. I'm on Treasure Island all the time. I didn't even know that exhibit is there. I want to take some young people over there, and we can go through this process. See, that's why you're a wealth of information, brother. That's why this is so powerful. Get that information to me so I can get some young people out there and go look at this exhibit. But yeah, see, this is why these conversations are so powerful. We run it up against the clock. We got to get out of here soon. But I want to give Ivan an opportunity if he wanted to say anything, and I know Io's been waiting, but this is what it's all about. It's about you all. Our team is here to support the conversation and be a part of it. But again, I've been touched today. Okay, I've been touched. And this is what this is all about: making impact. Patrick, we're going to impact you. We're going to get your books around here, and this is what this network is all about. You get what I'm saying? This is what we're trying to create here. We talk about the Black ecosystem. We talk about how to make these intersections meet and make sure that the resources get to the people. And I always tell people the researchers are right here. You all are the researchers. We have the information. Elected officials that are listening, all of our community folks, listen to the people. They have all of the answers. I keep telling them, you don't need a doctorate degree to figure this stuff out. Talk to the experts. They right here today. But go ahead. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Ivan, if you want to jump in there, Io, and then we'll start wrapping this thing up and get everybody out here. And I appreciate everybody being patient today. This has been powerful. I know our community is being impacted, and you all are bringing some hope to some folks. There's somebody today that's going to be impacted by the very conversation we all have had today. But go ahead, Brother Ivan.
So I heard a lot about, let me start off with, I realize now that there's a whole lot about this particular subject matter that I don't know. And it's good to hear from some experts in the subject matter, those who've done their research, those who've been impacted personally, and so forth. And I'm hearing a whole lot about the humanity of the people involved in this system. And there are two sets of people, perhaps even three. You have those who are incarcerated, those who do the incarcerating, and those who write the legislation to keep things the way that they are. And unfortunately, the way that we see things quite oftentimes, the legislators generally are held unblamed. The COs, we have discussions surrounding things like their culpability in bringing in contraband. But then we see those who are incarcerated who are actually suffering the consequence of being in possession of said contraband. We see that these officers mistreat those who are incarcerated, those who are left ostensibly in their care. And we know that that lack of accountability is what leads to many of the poor outcomes. Folks get into a place where they become hopeless. They start to become indoctrinated by others' philosophies. Sometimes this is gang philosophy and group think, group act sort of philosophy. And they get caught up in the system. And they're caught up in the system, and the system is not doing anything to reaffirm their humanity, to tell them that there's something else at the end of this thing. And I'll try to be a bit more brief. What I'd like to know really is what can we do about the oversight? I know we have different committees and task forces and all of those different, all of these different buzzwords we hear, but we don't really see any accountability, any action, and certainly none that's evaluated. As I heard some of these brothers talking about, Brother Patrick talking about evaluating a process at the end of that process. And we don't have any accountability starting from the beginning of the process. We know prisons were developed to house runaway slaves. That's and they were increased. The numbers were increased to house people who had been recently enslaved, who had become free. And so that's the genesis of our policing, if you will. But we don't have any accountability also at the end of this process to figure out how it is we develop the programs. We talked a lot about programs, but how do we develop the accountability on the front end to sort of get the sort of results that we need on the latter end? Because many of these people are left out, and they've been indoctrinated. Again, I use that word, indoctrinated into a system of survival rather than actually living, And so what do we do? And I know that the folks here on the panel have, like I said, a lot more information on this sort of thing. What can we do, or what can we look to? Who do we talk to? How do we become a catalyst for the type of oversight that we need, so that there is truly corrections, if you will? We talked about the European model and so forth. I remember watching a program where a Belgian guy was in prison. They had a whole, I think it was HBO Showtime, where they went to visit these different prisons in different countries. A Belgian guy got a delivery while he was being interviewed by the producer. Well, he was being delivered a watch, and it was later found that he was a collector of watches. So they never denied this man his humanity in all of this time, because their process revolves around his reentry into society. He was a murderer. He committed murder. That's why he was in prison. But they never took his humanity from him. And so he still was able to be a part of the world. Though he was not living directly in it, he was still able to be a part of the world. And what's happening with our young men, mostly, because that's who makes up the larger population in prisons, is that their humanity has been stripped from them. And so as a consequence, they become these, I heard him make the statement about being a beast. Well, they become beasts because they feel like they have to be a beast in order to survive. So what do we do about the oversight that we don't see now within the system from the very beginning to the end? And I
Did
you everybody.
Speechless? Everybody's speechless.
No, that's a whole nother program. Yeah, we got it. That's a whole nother program. But well articulated, though. Well articulated. That
Well,
gets
we'll
to the
have,
meat
we'll
of the
have to
table.
have another conversation on oversight and policing. But wow, that's a very thoughtful. See, Ivan is a thought. See, that's what I'm saying. He just patiently waiting. He got all his artillery for us. We'll have another conversation, but I know we'll do our part here at both sides of the conversation to get engaging with policy change and work with organizations who do that work. You know, one of the things, you know, I've been a component of working with folks with child support, but you know, here's the thing. You know, our lawmakers, these elected officials, they don't read these bills. I'm just going to be honest, community. They got all of these bills up here sitting on their desk and they don't read them. All right. They re-sign these bills. This is why some of these laws are just continuing to happen, dysfunctional, because people don't read through. It's too much. So we got to figure out how to streamline this legal process. But I'm just going to be honest. I've
To
seen
put some money behind the lobby.
Yeah, it's terrible what goes on. You know, these people are signing off on bills they didn't even read. They taking the whatever the hot topic is out of the bill and they voting on it. So it's a lot of issues with our elected process. And when we talk about these bills and things of that nature. So we got some work we got to do. And again, this is why it's important for community folks to get involved with these processes. And, you know, we got to get these lawmakers and these lawyers and these folks to come in our community. That's our civic duty to understand these processes, what's going on, so that we really could dismantle and make change. Because I'm just going to be honest, man, you see some of these bills is 800 pages and I'm on these committees, right? And I'm like, it's 800 pages. I got 50 events going on. I got to be a grandpa. How can I read through 800 pages of legislative law and stuff like that? So it's some work, y'all. And I just want to say that it is a process. But we got to get involved and we got to do something. But we'll have some conversations about that. But with that being said, we up against the clock. I got to get us out of here because I know y'all been due diligent here, and I'm gracious to have y'all presence here. But y'all know here at both sides of the conversation, we always give our panelists an opportunity before they leave today to give something back to the community. I want to make sure that today, this has been a heartfelt conversation for me. You know, sometimes these conversations trigger me, you know, because it's like 30 years was the last time I had to be involved in this justice system, in this incarceration process. And it's always a trigger for me because it's just like, wow, you get what I'm saying? It's something, and it just impacts me. And I understand like what's going on. I'm still involved in the system, working with young people in the county jails. I get what's going on. And it's like, man, it just hit me. And then to have Khalees and her testimony, and I got people text me. See, these mothers feel what Khalees is feeling. This is why it's so important for you all to lift your voices. When we talk about vulnerability, being transparent with our community, because there's some people out here that's dealing with this right now. And everybody doesn't have access to the DA. Everybody doesn't have access to the best lawyer. Everybody don't have access to those connections sometimes. And people go through it. So again, a healing moment again for the community, healing moment here for us. You all have been phenomenal. And I know Patrick had to step away for a second. I want to try to get him to give some parting words before our last person today. But we will support him in his book. And we will support you all in some kind of way. It's about connecting. I don't want you guys just to come here and feel like, hey, you know, we did a segment. No, there's some people that's going to reach out. There's some folks that we need to continue to stay connected. And these conversations can't go away. We have to keep these highlighted and uplifted so that people understand we are not just going away. We will continue to push together. We will continue to fight. And we will continue to dismantle the system that has oppressed us, that has incarcerated us, and has done us unjust. We will do that. So, with that being said, I'm going to go around the room and give everybody an opportunity to give some parting words of encouragement, words of opportunities, and we're going to move it around. I'm going to start with you, Clarence, brother. Powerful, brother. I'm gonna connect with you, Clarence. I got your information, brother. I have something for you, brother. That's what I'm about, blessing people. I got something for you. But I want you to give some parting words to the community today and leave them with something. Each and every one of you, however long it takes, give something to the people. Give something to the mothers out there who are dealing with young men, young women who are on that road to some darkness that they don't even understand. Be that light today. Give them something for our community to take back with them. Go ahead, Clarence. You got to unmute yourself, brother.
Yeah, for the young mothers out there, don't give up hope. You know, keep hope alive and everything. Be encouraged, and for them youngsters out there and everything that listening in, be encouraged, man, and don't give up. Don't give up on life or nothing. You know, it's life is not like life is not easy, but we can make it easy. We can make it. We make things hard on ourselves and everything. Just be encouraged and keep your head up. Be strong. You know, don't bite into us. Don't bite into a lot of stuff and everything that you don't have to bite into. And just stay focused. The main thing is stay focused and be strong. We got to be strong as black people, as black men and women, and everything. We have to be strong. My mom told me that. She said, "Baby, I just want you to be strong." And that's my aim today, is being strong, getting close to God and everything. And because I don't want to return. I don't want to return back to that vomit, back to them behind them granite rocks and everything, and listen to them keys and everything, looking at all them green uniforms from day in and day out and everything. I don't want to return back to that. So I got to be strong with myself and be encouraged with myself. You know, oftentimes you don't have nobody around to encourage you. You got to pat yourself on the back and say you're doing all right, and encourage yourself and everything. I got to encourage myself a lot of time. Just be strong, keep your head up, and stay focused.
Man, well, we go encourage you today, brother. I'm so proud of you. See, community, when we talk about accountability and black men stepping up, Clarence, you are definitely a prime example of what it takes to make it. It's not easy, but if you keep pushing forward, opportunities and things will happen. Thank you, brother, for being here today. And I'm glad you have been able to talk today, because I know last time we didn't give you a lot of time. But again, thank you, brother, for being here, and we appreciate you. And I'll be connecting with you, King.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother Parker, the general. Give the great people of California something, brother.
Hello, my people here in California. I love you. I'm originally from Illinois, but you got me now. I'm your adopted child. So I just want to say, man, I've been in this game here for criminal justice reform for probably the last 20 years. As before criminal justice reform was even cool. That was before it was a thing. That was before they were putting all this money behind it, you know, and I was doing it. I started doing it, not doing this, but working to try to get fathers back in the homes with their kids, you know, and that's how I found out there was a connection, okay? And there was not only a connection between the two, there was that disconnect, because when I was doing my research, I found out after I met Michelle Alexander. That's before anybody even knew who she was. Her book just came out, and I brought her to Peoria to speak. But back in like 1964, we only had like about 275,000 people incarcerated in the entire country. But at the same time, Black families were intact 80% of the time with mama and daddy in the home, 80%, and only 275,000 people incarcerated. But then here we get the 2009, at the height of it, we had 2.4 million people incarcerated. But then we only had 20% of the homes in the Black community with intact mom and daddy. So there's definitely a correlation there. So that lets you know it don't matter how good you are, they setting you up to fail anyway. But we ain't got to make it easy for them. Everything from the school to prison pipeline, they starting that early, taking daddy out the home, and there's a connection there, even in family court. Okay, if you look at the stats, they'll show you that single parent homes, especially where there's a single mother, okay, our prisons are filled up with them. But even a single father home had the same stats as 2-parent homes. So there's a reason why they taking daddies out of the home, because 90% of the time they award mothers the custody. Okay, I ain't saying mothers are bad. I'm just saying mothers, y'all got to make sure y'all keep daddy involved with your children. Make sure you love your children more than you hate your ex. Okay, because if you don't, this is what's going to happen sooner or later. You be asking yourself, I don't know why that boy's so bad. I don't know why my daughter do those things, because you took daddy out of their life. Okay, make sure y'all keep that connection. But I just want to thank you again for bringing me on. Anybody got any questions? I know organizations all across this country. Like I said, All of Us or None, I've been involved with them. FIC PFM, formerly incarcerated convicted persons and family movement, I've been involved with them, and they have a conference every 2 years, okay, a national conference, and they bring people from all around the country, and a lot of times they even pay for you to get there, you know, to get to this conference. So we need to keep that unity. And the First Step Back, I told you about that. I don't think there's much more I can say, but if anybody needs to get in touch with me, I've helped people get jobs, and I don't care. I don't believe in that. Well, you did your time, so you just got to settle for whatever you can get. No, if you got the skills, if you got the education, I've helped people get jobs making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year with benefits and stuff like that, and they take formerly incarcerated people. Okay, so I help people get back into their education. I'm trying to help people to get reacclimated with their family, come to home. So just get in touch with me. My email is lifeingeneral@gmail.com. That's LYFINGENERAL, lifeingeneral@gmail.com. So anything I can do to help, that's what I'm here for.
Man, thank you, brother. You have been always a blessing to the people, a wealth of information and resources, community. There is opportunities. Don't let them tell you can't do it. We got the general here. That's why he's called the general. He is making sure that opportunities get to everybody who's been incarcerated, impacted, but women. You heard the general. Don't be fighting your baby daddy. Keep the kids around their babies. Some of them do. Some of them, I don't know, General. Some of these dudes out here, they terrible, okay? Some of these dudes,
yeah, you're right. But that's the exception, though. That's the exception. That ain't the rule. That's the exception. That ain't the rule. We can't make a rule for 15% of the people, you know. The majority of them are out here doing their thing, you know, and I even got stats on that, too. We are doing our things as fathers, even when we ain't with the mothers, you know. We're doing our things as fathers, and a lot of these other groups wish they were daddies like we were. So even though that ain't what
I agree with you. I don't want to put a blanket. I don't want to put a blanket statement on all the fathers. There's some great dads out here, but I'm gonna tell you, General, I be in these community streets. We got some terrible fathers out here. Okay, I'm agreeing with these mothers. Keep these terrible jerks away from our children because they are part of the problem. I'm just gonna say that. But there is some good brothers like you, General. Again, ladies, support the brothers that is trying to be in your kids' life, trying to do something. But these other folks, these deadbeats, these real knucklehead, no good nothings. I'm agreeing with my queen. Keep them knuckleheads away from our babies. They messing up our generation. All right.
I do you one better. Quit choosing them in the first place, and you won't be making babies with no knuckleheads.
General, you know the population is real poor out here, okay? The pot is not so good, okay? There's not enough of us out there, okay? We can't have all of the ladies, okay?
Preach, General.
It's slim pickings, General. It's slim pickings.
Thank you.
The general is trying to get us back into our relationship conversation. General, that's
I'd rather starve. I'd rather starve. I'd rather starve. I don't care how thin them pickings. I'd rather starve. You know, they don't make them batteries for no women for no reason at all.
General, we got a couple of weeks before the relationship show. You got to hold on. Save that for the relationship show. It's coming, General. I know you want to get this thing started. I don't want my inbox blowing up. They're going to be like, that's the General. That's why we want him back. You and Mark, y'all make sure y'all get ready. We got a relationship show coming up. And I'm looking forward to it. Y'all will be the first invitees to make sure that y'all here. But we got to move it along. This good brother here, Patrick, we're going to be purchasing a number of books from you. We'll get that solidified here. We definitely want to invite you for our Hidden Gem show. I know you did some educational stuff, but I want to get you back here because I want to make sure, each one of our segments, different audience, different people. But I want to get some Black folks to get behind you and support your book. And maybe I can get some more folks from the city that are doing the reentry work, get some as well, because that's what it's all about, connecting people. But again, Patrick, thank you for tuning in all the way in New Orleans. Being patient. I know it's a time difference, but brother, before you get out of here, I want you to just give something back to the people of NO, the people across this country, to our very beloved people here in California, brother.
Yeah, just thank you again for having me. I do want to acknowledge what General said is really important. At the beginning of the show, there was a lot of information on Juneteenth, but there was no information on fatherhood celebrations. Like, we really have to give space, give room to acknowledge fathers in our community. Juneteenth truly is important. I agree, but let's not overshadow the great work that fathers are doing in our community, and have some type of programming and support system for fathers, especially fathers that are incarcerated, right? And I mean, that's one thing that we really need to circle back on, and making sure that those brothers who may need some help have the space to get it as well. I work in city government, and I think that it's really important that we move from just, off the sideline and into the playing field. I'm wearing a shirt called Leaders of Color because it's an advocate group that specifically looks into getting into public office and holding some of these jobs and opportunities in our bodies of government, whether it's local, state, federal, even in international spaces. We have to have representation on both sides of the line. So I really just support the brother Mike. I heard what you're saying, man. Get in government, get in office, and that's smart. Get down, get in government in Houston. Like, we have to have our own body at work in these spaces, especially when the funding is appropriated and put it down. And I'm glad, like right now, I work with everybody from ATF to DEA to NOPD to the White House. And it's so impactful when I'm in those rooms and I have a voice to say, hey, we need to move this money to this program. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I wonder what happens when I'm not in the room. And when we look at, again, they're celebrating Pride Month, there's a lot of talk about transgender situations. And the reason they get funding is because they have their representation stand up. We have to represent for those voices behind the wall. And that means we have to get into those positions in those offices. So yeah, run for mayor, run for city council, run for judge. You can get it. The law doesn't prevent you from having those positions based on your convictions. And if it is, it's only a time situation. It's not forever that you're banned from those opportunities. So I'm always trying to promote people to get in office, get in position. So thank you again for this opportunity, and let's make this change.
And thank you again, brother. Highlighted, this was the first week kickoff. We will acknowledge all of our Pride Week folks. We're going to acknowledge all the Juneteenth stuff. And this is Black Man's Mental Health Awareness Month in June. So we will be talking about that. It is Father's Day. It is very important that we highlight our fathers in this organization. We always do stuff for our fathers. And again, because of that weekend, we will be moving some of that programming to another weekend, but we are not going to let our Black fathers down. Okay. We will do something for the fathers of the community, just like we do for our mothers. But again, I'm glad you brought that up, but we will be highlighting more as the weeks come on our next shows, because there's a lot. And again, this weekend, we had a lot of things that our organization was awarded for and things of that nature. But you're right.
There's also gun violence prevention month.
Yeah. You shouldn't have said that loud, man. Now a bunch of women gonna get in here talking about day to daddy too. It's day.
General, why you trying to start? General, you trying to start a war, okay? I'm gonna just tell y'all, okay? I gotta say this.
I'm with you, General. I'm with you.
I'm just telling y'all this, man. Cause see, my team does this to me too. Y'all get all these women fired up, General, and they've been throwing rocks at me. I just had to fix my windshield because of rock. I don't know if the lady threw it out the car on purpose because I had to fix my windshield. But I tell colleagues, they make these comments about women and then they come after me. Oh, Bishop, you talking about women hair. You talking about women. And it be my own very team set me up. And now I got women throwing rocks at me every time I see. Y'all got to stop that. But thank you, Patrick. And again, my team will be reaching out to you. I just got a text message, so they'll be reaching out to you. My team will be purchasing a number of books, and I'm gonna try to connect you with a couple of our folks who do reentry in the city, and make sure that they connect with you, because we are trying to bring that level of financial literacy and information into our systems, and we could do it. There's a number of things, but I'm definitely going to buy copies. I want to get all my young people that I mentor inside of our San Francisco UG. I want them to start reading it. I've been bringing a lot of books to them, and these young brothers is reading, and they are changing their mindset. So I'm definitely going to be connecting with you. I promise you, brother, we'll get some books, and we'll get them out there to the community out here. So we appreciate you. We're proud of you, and definitely keep yourself at those seats at the table. And for all the people, I'm just like you, brother. They kick me out of a lot of these meetings because I'm shouting and screaming. I be telling these women in these meetings too, hey, they don't be talking for man. Hold on. Let me tell you what's going on. They be kicking me out, but I be in there representing, keep showing up, because your voice is important. And I keep telling black men, the more we speak up, and you'll be surprised how many things change and people listening. Not saying that our women of the community don't have a loud voice, but it's something about the kings. When we show up, when we be vulnerable, when we put our stance on things, I'm just telling you, things start happening. We movers and shakers as a people. But thank you, Patrick, for all of the work. Keep loving on our people down there in the NO. And I promise you, okay, I'll be coming to the NO very soon. I got a couple dates lined up, things that's going on. Make sure I connect with you when I come down there, because I don't like driving in and coming in the cities and act like I don't know them. I say, hey, what's brother? Yeah, I'm looking for Brother Young. The bishop is here. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm going to connect with you.
I got you.
All right, for sure,
All
man.
right.
All right, Brother Mark. Go ahead and give your benediction to the people today, brother.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot to say, and I wish I would have had a chance to connect, because I was just in New Orleans, just celebrating my birthday this past Friday, and I was in the town for a little while. So, yeah. But this conversation, honestly, is almost overwhelming because it's so much to deal with. Just to try to touch on a couple of things. One, this is almost, or not even almost, this is a war that's been going on against the Black community. Prison has been used as a proxy for perpetuity of slavery. It's an economic war that we are fighting. And those of us who have been incarcerated and the families that have been impacted by it are prisoners of war. And I think we have to, we didn't get an opportunity to get in it, but the mental health aspect of what it takes to readjust. I just want to put a clarion call out to all the mental health professionals out there. And again, it has to start, like Brother Michael was saying, from the inside. We have to start a pipeline for people coming out that connect with their family and their community on a mental level, because you had brought it up. I remember my first outing publicly, coming home, standing against the wall, watching the door, because I was nervous being around a group of people, even outside of prison, because in prison, like I said, you never turned your back. And having that period of adjustment, had I not had the family and the friends I had in place at the time, my situation would have been much, much harder than it was. Then the other part of it is the economic aspect. We have to have safety nets financially for people coming out, because when you're in a survival mode and you're trying to figure out how I'm gonna eat, where I'm gonna stay, how can I be a contributing member now of my family now that I'm back out, and you don't have those tools, their survival instinct is going to kick in, and that's where we resort back to those old patterns and old habits to make it happen. So we have to address this from a mental health aspect, an economic aspect, and the social aspect. And I just want to encourage everybody who's been impacted, whether directly or indirectly. We do have to be accountable for our choices and decisions. Now that's another part of it. I don't ever want to remove from us. When we make mistakes, yes, we should be accountable for our mistakes, but we understand that the system is set up to create opportunities for us to make mistakes at a much higher rate than other groups of people. And we have to consciously divorce ourselves from the mindsets, the attitudes, and the activities that put us within the trap that they've set for us. And like I say, we're going to have to deal with a lot of our music in our culture, a lot of the movies, a lot of the media that we consume. is strategically placed in front of us to psychologically prepare us to go to the places where they get paid for us being out of the way. And this is an attack on the Black family, because when, again, like the General was saying, when you remove the man, you remove the head, the women are more vulnerable to attack from society, and they understand this. And so we have to realize, again, men and women in our community, Black, we need each other. And we have to fight against the stigmas that are driving wedges of division between us at every level, because it's hard for a man to feel worthy and respectable when he can't provide, when everything in society is telling him he's not worthy. And then you have to deal with this woman, and she's fighting against that too. And she gets caught up in that trap. So all of these aspects together is a war that's going on that we have to fight from a place of understanding. And I just want to encourage everybody, don't give up. Because yeah, if I wouldn't have had those visits from my mother, them 7 years, it'd have been very easy to give up, to become cynical, to feel like there was nothing worth fighting for. So again, Sister Khalees, thank you for all that you do. Brother John, Ayo, Brother Ivan, thank y'all for the work y'all continue to do. I just want to celebrate everybody who's gone through, came out, and continues to give back. And if there's anything that I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out. But thank y'all again.
Man, you have already done enough, brother. You've been consistent loving on the people, consistently showing up. That's half the battle, brother. I appreciate you giving up some of your Sunday for the community. Every little bit takes. I always say, if you could just give a little bit, 2% of your time to give back, those words, your testimony is going to touch somebody. Somebody is going to feel it. And that's all we ask. And you've been doing that consistently. You, the General, coming back, different folks. Don't forget about us. Y'all part of the family. Y'all part of the change. General, we're going to work on these women, though, General.
I wish Sister Khalees had came and visited me when I was locked up. I probably would have had it easier.
Did you say if Khalees got?
Yeah.
You're getting me picked on, General. You're getting me picked on.
I love the General. He always keep our platform going. Brother Michael, you've been waiting patiently, brother. I want you to give some parting words to the community, and just appreciate you being here and all the work you're doing, King.
You have all touched on the most important aspect, so you really did not leave much for me. However, I will say this personally. It has been difficult. It has been difficult coming out with everything that I had, with the people around me. My cell phone was probably one of the most frustrating, trying to figure that thing out. But it's coming along. But one of the things, I'm going back to my decisions, and that is that with the information that we know, with the information that we've gleaned thus far, it's helpful somewhere. And so I know that each and every single day, what I'm learning, how I'm overcoming whatever obstacle is put in front of me, I have to be able to reach back and share that and hopefully prevent that from someone else, so they don't have to experience that. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of weight coming out of those walls into society, because one wrong step, one wrong move, one wrong accusation could end it all. And so I'm real cognizant of the ripple effect of my decisions. And we talked about inside in a number of groups about the ripple effect of crime. And I think it's a good conversation to have. But I also think that we can take that ripple effect and make it positive. The ripple effect of positive decisions, the ripple effect of reaching back and helping another one out, the ripple effect of listening to each other, the ripple effect of taking on various perspectives and critically analyzing them and talking about them and moving forward together. So that would be my message. Be cognizant of the ripple effects of our thoughts, what we do with those thoughts, and how we help one another progress forward. And with that being said, I'm here, I'm available anytime to do whatever I need to do to advance this agenda. Call on me anytime.
Man, thank you, brother. And I want to connect with you and get you some support. And I always tell the brothers coming home, if you know how to get on YouTube, YouTube University, all the information. You want to learn how to work your cell phone, put in your cell phone model number, and they got videos to teach you how to do step by step. Be mindful of YouTube. There's a lot of education information you can watch, and they'll step by step you through anything. And that's the good thing about YouTube. So definitely will connect with you. Definitely would love to have some of these conversations and topics. One of the challenges sometimes is to get other brothers and sisters to be vulnerable to come on and speak. So we would love to connect with you and get some of these other folks so their voices can be heard and uplifted. So we thank you, and anything we could do to help you as well, please let us know. Don't be afraid. We got a lot of resources, a lot of information going on, and definitely we love to connect you with the people. All right.
Thank you.
Brother Ivan, I know you the quiet thought processor. When you talk about patience, this brother's a patient brother. I like being around Ivan because he just thinks. He just sit there and process. But Ivan, give some parting words to the community, brother.
Well, for all who are under the sound of my voice, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who contributed to this discussion. It is a much needed discussion. I wasn't trying to branch off into a whole different subject when I talked about the oversight. I was really kind of referring back to the programs and things that we should be able to take advantage of when we're incarcerated that we're not able to, and so forth. But in any event, I appreciate brothers and sisters coming on here and sharing their experience, their knowledge about the things that create barriers for us. And I hope that we can continue in the same vein to speak on things as we move forward so that we're not just aware, but we are educated. So thank you again.
Man, and thank you for being here, and just want to tell you publicly, because I don't do stuff behind the doors. Ivan, you and your wife have been a blessing to our people in the community, and we just want to thank you for having the courage, the heart to continue to give back to the community. And we appreciate the support and what you bring, not only to this organization, but to the people, because at the end of the day, our job is to impact the people. And with your wisdom, your knowledge, and your care for Black people and people in general, we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you, King. And I'm happy to march on the side of greatness, brother. Thank you. Sister Aldo, my co-host that do the most. We were stepping out popping yesterday. Give some feedback to the people, yo.
First and foremost, thanks to all the panelists tonight. We got some great solutions. I was sitting here and listening, sorry. But I just want to give flowers to Khalees. You continue to amaze me with your transparency and your vulnerability. And I was sitting here listening to all the panelists, and I couldn't keep it together. I just kept thinking about you and all your fights and all your willpower, all your discipline. And you do it with courage. You do it with vulnerability. You do it with a smile on your face, and you keep going. You never cease to amaze me, and you are teaching me. You are truly an inspiration. And learning, hearing so many different solutions tonight of how we can be a part of prison reform. Number one, accountability for oneself is a huge part of your rehabilitation, of course. But the importance of your family and people just showing up, you don't understand how important that is. I've been saying this, life be lifing, like seriously. You get caught up in your own thing and what we're doing. And it's easy, out of sight, out of mind. It's easy to forget or say, oh, I'm going to send that package. I'm going to write that letter. Oh, I'll put some money on my phone so you can call. But being consistent in somebody's life that is locked up and not knowing what their tomorrow is, not knowing they could have a good day today. You don't know if it's going to be a riot, whatever it is, whatever that disassociation that they are feeding our people and dehumanizing them inside of those walls. We don't know what it's like. From an outsider looking in, I couldn't understand. I couldn't fathom being in there a day, let alone 7 years, 13 years, 23 years, 35 years. I couldn't even get my mind around it. And then to be having to come home to a world that's unknown. Like Brother Michael said, a simple thing is trying to figure out your cell phone. Just imagine that. Just imagine that. How selfish we are in our day-to-day lives to say, oh my God, my phone is dying. Oh my God, I don't have any bars. Just imagine that. And the impact we have as individuals on those family members and or friends who are inside, that little bit goes such a long way. I commend you, my sister. I commend you with each and every challenge you come up against. You face it head on. Your obstacles are something that we only read about and or see on a Lifetime movie, but you handle it with grace. You put God first, and you continue to take up arms in this battle of life. And I commend you sincerely. It is my honor to be on this panel with you. It's my honor to be in this organization with you. And I truly love you, and I have the utmost respect for you. I thank you all of you men who shared your story and your experience being inside, coming out, and having to strap up your own boots, so to speak. You know, I love your approach, Michael. Get out and get to it. It's about solutions. It's about solutions. We can say what the troubles were. We can say all these things, but what's the solutions? How are we going to carry forward? How are we going to prepare those who are coming home and or our youth who are going down that path, you know? And I just thank you all. I thank you all. It's been such a pleasure being on this show tonight, sincerely.
Wow, very powerful stuff. You know, this is what it's all about, uplifting each other. When we talk about uplifting each other, what you have read, what you have heard, this is what it's about. This is why we do this work. This is why I go to battle for these very people, not only in this organization, but for my people in the community. There's healing through communication. There's power in uplifting each other. There's something about acknowledgement of each other. You don't know what somebody is going through until you listen, till you hear their voice. So with that being said, the voice, the co-host, the production leader, the one who makes it all happen, Sister Khalees, give a wrap up of today, Queen. We love you.
Wow, I appreciate that so much. Everyone's showing up because these conversations are very important to us, right? They allow us, the media, to be able to express ourselves. Thank you, Ayo. Those words really saturated my soul, I tell you. But believe me, only the strong survives. I am human, community. I'm human. Real life happens over here. I'm not ashamed of anything that I share on both sides of the conversation that I share with you all. But sometimes I'm embarrassed, but I'm part of the community. So you can't judge me, right? Tough love. What is that? Don't give up on your loved ones. Life is too short to disregard or abandon anyone. Since this conversation today, I'm encouraged and charged with speaking life back into my son. You know, as I shared, we fighting a case, a heavy one, because when the DA so easily can hand out triple digits, you got to stand there. I tell you this, he had 2 days before he was giving CDCR back their number, right? But boom, he was locked up again. So things change, split second. Don't give up on your loved ones. The root cause, he has to change his mindset. We must change the narrative. We've got to change the narrative, community.
Wow. Thank you, Khalees. Thank you all. Before we go, y'all got to hear from the bishop, okay? I don't know why my Wi-Fi always acts up when it's time to get to the benediction, but I don't know. It's something about the benediction that just drive infinity crazy. I don't know. But again, thank you, Khalees. You know, you guys always make me emotional. I'll be trying to hold it together here. So many things going through my mind, you know, and as, you know, the executive director and the founder of this organization, to see the growth of you all, to see the panelists return and just see the growth in the work that the General, Mark, Mike, what all you are doing is so impactful. And this is why we do this. This is why I'm all about our people. This is why I get frustrated. This is why I do what I do, because of your testimonies, because of your story. because of the things that you all have experienced. How can I go to sleep? This is why I get 2 hours of sleep, because it's you all that keep me fighting. People say, how do you do it, Bishop? How could I not? When we have people who have been impacted by a judicial system that's unright. We have people been incarcerated in prison and don't get the fair second chance. We have people who come back home and they don't get a fair second chance. This is why we do what we do. Understand, community, the work starts with us all. You be a blessing to somebody and make sure you impact somebody in your community. These mothers, these fathers here, we are trying to build something. We are trying to put our community back to the forefront of greatness. And it starts with the dads. It starts with our dads being back involved. It starts with the lack of pushing back from each other and bringing back Black unity and love to our community. It will happen. But with that being said, I got to get to the benediction. I'm sorry. I was like, let me get to the benediction because I got to get us out of here. But community, today, you've been blessed. What you heard is real, true life story. This is not fictional stories. These are real life people. When you see the general, when you see Mike, when you see Mark, when you see Clarence, when you see Sister Fran, these are people who have been through that dark night, been through that dark road, have experience that some folks never get to experience. When you're dealing with people who are re-entering back into our community, make sure that you have the level of patience, the level of love, the level of humility and compassion. Be understanding. You don't know the struggles. You don't understand the pain. You don't understand the trauma, the hurt, the PTSD that someone coming home could be going through. You make sure that you be the light. Don't be the judgmental. Be the light. Be the open opportunity. You sitting at the HR room. You sitting on the next job panel. Make sure you have enough hope, enough love, enough compassion to say, I believe in second chances. I know what you've been through, and I know you can do more. I'm going to tell you, I work with the folks who come home, some of the most dedicated workers, some of the most committed folks. Don't miss an opportunity being judgmental, community. Help your loved ones. Show up for them. Some need it in person. Some need it behind the walls. Some need it here in spaces. Whatever it is, make sure you are doing your part. It is all of our jobs to change systems, to dismantle the very things that put us in the dark pits. It is our job. We are the dismantlers. We cannot wait for anyone to come solve our issues. We can't wait for the system to change for our movement. We must be the change. Our voices must uplift the people. We must be the very ones who make change. That's why we believe changing the narrative is through the voices, because it's the voices of the people that create the listeners to make the change through the pens. If your voice is not heard, how does the change happen? Continue to uplift your voice. Continue, community, to be a light. Be that vessel. Be a blessing to someone else. Make sure you're not standing. You're not paralyzed in your fear, in your lack of motion, and your lack of speaking up. Make sure you are uplifted. You are inspired. Make sure you say something. Don't just stand there and see things happening that you could change. Be the change maker. Be the change maker. You could do that. With that being said, community, thank you all for tuning in today. This was a great show. Very, very touching to my heart. They're very dear to all of us here. Community, be willing to listen. Change is coming. We'll be a part of that change. We have our upcoming educational show coming up this week, our Hidden Gem show. Before I go, I just want to also give a huge shout out to Lynette Mackey. I don't want to forget her for the amazing suicide awareness event. I know Mark talked a little bit about mental health. We were out there. Great to see all of the community show up. When we talk about Black mental health, Black suicide, it's a very alarming number that's increasing in our community daily. Sometimes these very folks who come home that don't get an opportunity want to give up because they don't want to go back to prison. Let's not forget about the impact of mental health and suicide in our community. Community folks, be aware. Pay attention to your loved ones. You never know when a person is going to give up. But there's hope. There's an opportunity. So I just want to say thank you to the Mackey Corner. Thank you to the family. Thank you for the mayor, London Breed, coming out and supporting and uplifting. This is very important. Mental health is real in our community. This suicide is very real. And some of the numbers are skewed because a lot of times They missed the suicide number with the drug overdose. A lot of times folks are drug overdosing because they don't want to live anymore, but it gets marked down as a drug overdose when it could be tied to suicide. So again, pay attention to your family, pay attention to our young people, listen, connect before you correct. That's all I can say. Connect before you correct. Do your part. You be the blessing of the people. I am the bishop. I love you all. Thank you, New World Earth, for our award. I am excited. Thank you, JR. Thank you to all of the Black media folks in the Bay Area. We love you. We'll continue to do our part to uplift you. You will see both sides of the conversation. We will be part of the revolution. We will be part of the power that is embedded back into the people. I love you all. Until Tuesday. Good night now, community. Have a blessed one. We'll see you on Tuesday.